All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mindgasms. I am Andrew, aka Bronterock Mindgasms, for the purposes of this chat. And we've got, of course, Bash Centrist, aka Woke Centrist, aka Dusty Cubes, aka Dustin Cubit. And we've got Scazio AKA Sheezan Alamgir, our regular movie chat partners. Chris couldn't make it tonight, but hopefully next time. And we're going to talk about Don't Look Up, the famous movie that came out recently on Netflix and apparently has actually already been nominated for Academy Awards, about a comet that's coming. It's a satire about a comet that's coming to destroy the Earth, but no one cares because materialism and tribalism and social media and wealth and all that kind of stuff. And it's widely seen as an obvious climate change satire, and I think it's a brilliant movie, regardless of how much it is a climate change, an analogy for a climate change satire, at least. And one of those interesting criticisms that I was alluding to before I started, that I was telling you guys about, is that I've heard some people say that it's like a pro-science COVID virtue signaling that's actually not. So it's hypocritical for them to be doing them. And I thought this was interesting because I heard this from pretty lefty people, from people on that Wisecrack podcast. That's the one that Jared Bowers from, who I've talked to before. And they were talking about how it's like, basically the movie actually seems in some ways, with all the accept the science stuff and how the bad guys are not accepting the science, to be scolding people for not accepting the science about COVID. But for me, I think even with that criticism, that would make more sense to just like in terms of accusing someone like Leonardo Dicaprio of hypocrisy, which those same people also mentioned, which makes more sense because he's supposedly involved with a climate change analogy, but he's also super rich and hanging out with Jeff Bezos on his yacht. But as is the case, is often the case for me when I hear criticisms like that, I just think, well, those criticisms don't really make sense to me. But even if they're valid, I don't need to have the message of the movie connected to some broader message, like how much of a victory it is for activism or something like that. I just think it's a good movie by itself as a piece of art. So to start off with,
conspiracy is a far reach, man. It's like a comedy movie. It's supposed to be taken really lightly, and
yeah. Go ahead and elaborate more on your thoughts about it, Sheezan, first.
So I've watched it a while ago, but the movie starts with a grad student, Jennifer Lawrence, and Leonardo Dicaprio, her professor, making some calculations and finding out that a meteor is about to hit the Pacific Ocean, right 62 miles from Chile, and it's gonna send tidal waves, and basically the meteor's impact is like a billion Hiroshima bombs, so it's basically gonna destroy Earth.
Yeah, because it's big enough that it's going to do that, basically, like cause the entire well, like not just human population, but all life on Earth to go extinct.
Yeah, and they go on a media tour to raise awareness about it and spread the news. And then
after they get rejected by the president, right?
Oh yeah, right. The president's like, oh, so is this, we can leave this as a probable significant event. When they're like, it's 99.678% sure that this meteor is gonna hit them.
Oh, so it's not 100%. You could see that part as an easy analogy for climate change too, because climate change skeptics or climate change deniers will say, Yeah, but it's actually not even 99% of scientists. It's only 90% of scientists. But any scientist will tell you that 90% of agreement on anything is science is fucking unheard of. And
Yeah.
like 99.7% is unbelievable, like historically unprecedented levels of certainty for anything in science.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unless we're talking about if the Earth is flat, then we probably will have 100% of scientists believing that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Unless
that's
you're
why.
like a flat Earth scientist,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
which I haven't heard of any before, but
Yeah.
I'm
That's like
wrong. There probably are a couple.
there are probably people who call themselves that. Like,
Yeah, they use pseudoscience.
bro, like all the geologists are wrong and all the astrophysicists and all of the other scientists who study the atmosphere and planets and the earth itself, they're just all wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of stuff is what's so funny for dark reasons in the movies, like how people are not anywhere near concerned enough about this, even to the point where eventually later on in the movie the hashtag don't look up is started when Jennifer Lawrence points up into the sky and you can literally see the comet in the sky. And then society is so tribal and politicized that the opposition forms a don't look up movement, which is the title of the movie. And it's like saying that the people who are saying just look up are trying to oppress the working class and they're trying to take away your jobs that you're going to get from the comet, so we have to mine it for $32 trillion.
Oh yeah, the billionaires are all
Well,
planning to mine the meteors, and they're not concerned about nuking it or like sending it like distracting its trajectory or something.
Yeah, like after the president agrees to take it seriously, like every character in this is great. Meryl Streep is great. She's like
mhm.
she's the first female president, but she's just as much of a fucking selfish psychopath as any other politician. and and
Yeah.
The
so when she finally,
movie makes fun of experts too, because the
yeah,
president's like it's not Ivy League, so we're not gonna take it seriously. So they don't take it serious. The world doesn't take it seriously until the Ivy Leaguers get onto it.
Yeah, because I think
yeah, that's
I know
totally
there's a
true.
lot of talk about it being like a climate change thing, but I don't know. To me, it seems more like it's political. It's about political corruption and capitalism
Yeah, that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because the president knows that it's basically dangerous, and instead of going the path of completely destroying it, goes the path of let's mine it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not
Yeah.
necessarily anti-science, at least from the president's perspective, but it sounds like she uses um, like anti-science. Well, actually, because it's kind of ambiguous, because the Bash's plan
The
doesn't
donor.
fail until like the last minute, and then that's when you
Yeah.
have
But
everyone
that but
starting to freak out.
But then also when the president does agree to take it seriously, they do this whole big mission with with Bash and the Bash Corporation, who is also one of my favorite characters in the movie. He's like the Bill Gates slash
Elon Musk.
Steve Jobs slash
Zuckerberg.
Elon Musk, like super fucking autistic guy. And he's so great. But and so they start that they do that mission, and then at the last second they just abort it because they can no wait they figure out that collectively they can make over something like over $150 trillion or something, and they can quote unquote end poverty and world hunger, which I thought was so great.
Right. So they abort their mission in favor of monetizing the impending disaster.
The president
And
avoids the news because it's gonna hurt her elections.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and then she takes it seriously to distract from the scandal that's caused once it's revealed that a senator who was involved with porn, who did porn years ago, she sexted him a picture of her pussy. So she does that to distract from it. It's so great.
Yeah.
Talk
So I
show
think
hosts
it's
were really funny too.
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely like a tale of because I can see how people will try to analogize this as climate change, but I don't know. To me, like it's more of a financial thing than a political thing, I think.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you could say that a more specific message of it could be something like how political tribalism, selfishness, materialism, and capitalism will literally make us destroy the world.
Yeah, because if you remember, there weren't any oppositional like political figures. Like we never got to see her opposition or her opposition making arguments. Like
That's true.
That's true.
um, it was just like the scientists versus the bureaucracy, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
that's
how
true.
I see it. More, I don't see it as like a political division thing because you don't see that in the movie that there are two like political sides.
Well,
It's just the
no, because
scientists
there are
and
though. There's the social media political sides that aren't even necessarily divided by party, but it's like the don't look up hashtag versus the just look up hashtag.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's definitely a social media thing too. You
Yeah,
know,
I like how much
um,
social media played into it and all that stuff. And like how Ariana Grande played like basically a selfish version of herself, and everyone was way more concerned about her breaking up with that rapper than the Comet.
yeah. So and it's kind of to me, I've like in the entirety of this movie, it's I almost feel like it's a pre like if everyone survived and the comet did miss, it's almost like a prequel to Idiocracy.
Oh, I
I
had
can't
myself
hear
muted.
you.
Yeah, that's a good point for sure.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
you see all these
because all
people
the
acting
elites escape,
stupidly.
right?
Yeah, but they get eaten.
Yeah,
You
that's why
That's
my
know?
name's
true.
Bronterock Mindgasms. That's one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Well, they
The
emerge
very
like you see all these naked old people with like
yeah,
flabby asses and saggy breasts, like walking around, and it's mainly white old people,
yep.
and they all get munched up by some extraterrestrial
Yeah, that's like
monster.
that's one of my favorite parts of the movie is the ending, even though it's the destruction of the world and the elites escape, and then 22,000 years later they reach supposedly Earth-like planet in a Goldilocks zone, and then the president, she goes and tries to pet one of those Bronterocs and then it eats her, which it makes it even funnier because that there's that earlier part in the movie when Leonardo DiCaprio's character is questioning Bash about the science and has said that anyone who has asked questions has been fired because they obviously care so much about money that they don't care how well the project will work, which ends up destroying the world. And Bash does this really intimidating thing where he says, well, we have I don't remember the number he uses, but we have 19 trillion bits of data on everything you will do before you even do it. We know how you will die. You die alone. And it turns out that he was wrong about that, which I didn't actually notice until the second time I watched the movie, because he died having dinner with his family and friends. But the
Mhm.
algorithm was right about how the president would die, being killed by and eaten by a Bronteroc. And then there's of course that last part of the end sequence where Jonah Hill's character comes out of the rubble of the White House and he instantly does an Instagram story.
And they
Jonah
survive.
Hill did really funny acting in this one.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
people,
a
yeah,
hilarious character in this. He's like such a spoiled mama's boy asshole that really
yeah.
I
and
will
he
say
says that
though that the character of Meryl Streep, I do think there is a direct correlation to Trump because you have like the nepotism of hiring like your offspring
Yeah.
and putting them into high positions into the government. So I think that was kind of like a direct
And
knock at Donald Trump there.
Especially in that rally in the later part of the movie when they adopt the don't look up social media movement and they're slinging all this fake populism. And Jonah Hill saying like, the people who work at the massage places, not the masseuses, but the people who walk you to the back, those people.
Yeah, one of the funniest things I thought about that last scene is not the scene itself, but them actually having to film that scene. So I'm just imagining like
Green
all of those
screen.
actors and like, do they have to go in the one big room and like there's a bunch of naked people in there, or like how do they put that together?
I bet they make them wear underwear in between takes and stuff like that. But I don't know. I mean, there could have been. It wouldn't surprise me if there were body doubles for some of the main actors, like Meryl Streep, for example. Like you see her ass at one point, and I thought I kind of doubt that Meryl Streep was willing to show her ass for this movie.
I don't know, because she's like one of those actresses that's like high up there and known for taking on roles.
Okay.
Don't actors do that really often? Like they're used to taking their clothes off.
Most of them do. Like
Yeah?
from what I know, in naked scenes, most naked scenes aren't body doubles unless like the actress or actor's like super I don't know, insecure maybe.
Okay.
But from what I know, most scenes are not body doubled unless it's like stunt scenes.
Okay. So I actually have seen Jennifer Lawrence naked in a few movies too. Then that's good to know.
X-Men for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought she did a really good job in this movie.
Yeah, all the acting was great, I think. Like,
I never liked Jennifer Lawrence in X-Men. I just didn't think she fit the role very much.
Okay. It's hard for me to be critical of her because I think she's so hot.
Yeah, I don't think she fit the role for Mystique very much.
Yeah, she's too young for it.
Yeah, she was too young, and I think Mystique kind of has like this, I wouldn't say, kind of like this very confident and mature sense of her own sexuality, whereas Jennifer Lawrence doesn't really exude that. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
That's a good point, actually. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, she seems a little more insecure when she plays Mystique.
Yeah, she's a little bit reserved about like that aspect in her acting.
Mm-hmm. Even though she's not afraid to get naked either. Like you see her topless in the movie Mother, and then she's naked in that movie Red Sparrow.
I've never heard of either of those movies.
Oh yeah. Mother is this. It's this weird movie that's a really obvious biblical analogy, and it's like weird. It's weird and fucked up, but it's good. It's good, I think. And that Red Sparrow is, I think it takes place in the 80s, and she plays part of basically an organization of female Russian spies who infiltrate people by pretending to be prostitutes and then killing powerful men.
Mm.
Wow.
The heroes of our movie here are quite flawed, aren't they?
Quite what?
Flawed.
Yeah, definitely. Well, especially Leonardo DiCaprio's character. He gets just as corrupted by materialism and sex as any of the other corrupted characters.
Oh yeah, he has
right?
that affair with the the talk show lady.
Yeah, he exactly. Gets called like the hottest scientist or something like that.
Yeah, it's funny. And it's funny. kind of cool too that he got fat and grew a big beard for this role. So good for him for not having to be quite the pretty boy, even though he was directly called the sexiest scientist in America.
And what were the flaws about? I guess the flaws with Jennifer Lawrence's character is just kind of her naivete.
Yeah, she was so concerned about her moral compass that she didn't take basically tactics and political considerations into effect, and that's obviously a balancing act because he like Leonardo DiCaprio's character went too far in the opposite direction, arguably, but her just screaming about it on their first news appearance meant that no one listened to her anymore.
Yeah, and I thought she was crazy.
She went from really concerned about this and trying to let the world know to like relaxing and like living out the rest of her life.
Yeah, eventually.
Well, it was still kind of up in the air. Like it was up in the air until they're starting to see, oh, Bash is doing their thing, and then there's like a counter to Bash. There was that international mission that was going on, like counter to Bash, where they were going to destroy the Comet, and I think a lot of it failed as well. Like there were like
that's the alternative mission that they started when Leonardo DiCaprio got fed up and then stopped working with the president, right?
Right.
Yeah, and then that failed at the last minute, like basically right when Bash's mission was launched, and then because they were so corrupted by capitalism and trying to make $150 trillion, they didn't examine it scientifically well enough. So a lot of the rockets exploded on the launch pad, and then some of them didn't latch properly, and then a bunch of them knocked into the others, and then the comet was still totally one full piece when it struck the Earth.
That was Russia, China, and India, right? That were
I think so.
Yeah,
they tried their own thing, but it's funny because like they never say like how it gets messed up. Like, did they get sabotaged or what?
I think didn't they say something about how it was some sort of malfunction and Russia thought it was an attack, so they attacked them, or that they were just vague about it like that.
Yeah, they just said like some of the rockets blew up on the launch pads.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They didn't say like why or
those commies. They don't get things right.
Yeah, nobody got anything right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Oglethorpe, that guy.
Yeah, he's the only one who kind of got things right all the way through, but no one succeeded.
Yeah, because he was like head of the department for like, what was it, planetary defense or something?
I think it was interplanetary defense, yeah.
Yeah, so
that guy that gave up his life for saving Earth.
Well, he went to the dinner, like the dinner of death at the end.
Yeah. Well, basically, Leonardo DiCaprio did that too. He ultimately decided to go out with his friends and family instead of joining the president on the elite spaceship, and she forgot her son Jonah Hill on Earth.
Well, that's a good thing, I guess. Jonah Hill was the only one who survived.
Yeah.
Because he was like in a presidential bunker or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's it. I mean, that's interesting that that Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence, they end up going out together with their family and friends. And I was wondering if you noticed this, Dusty. Did you recognize that actor who plays that homeless guy who ends up basically marrying Jennifer Lawrence near the end of the movie and is like a secret evangelical Christian?
What about him?
He's the guy who plays Paul in the new Dune movie.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that. I haven't seen the new Dune movie, so I guess I wouldn't have caught that.
I was wondering if you just recognized him from the ads.
No, I didn't recognize him at all.
Yeah.
Like the secret
Have you seen that new
evangelical.
Dune? Have you seen that new
That guy
Dune
was the
movie
most
she's in?
comforting. Like, yeah, I've seen the Dune movie.
Okay.
What did you think about it?
I thought it was really good, actually. It's better than any other adaptation I've seen by far. I thought it was a really good movie, and it stuck to the books for the most part. It kind of veered off a little bit, but it stuck to them for the most part.
They don't explain spice at all like that well.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the only
They
criticism, I guess. Otherwise,
hopefully,
it's a pretty.
well, it's only half of the first book, basically, right? So the first movie ends about halfway through the first book or so, before Paul and his mother go off with the Fremen. So maybe they'll explain a lot more of that in the second movie.
Yeah,
I
I think it
wonder
would
if
have to
they're
be more
gonna cover the
important.
other books.
I
I wonder if they're gonna cover the other
I think the other
books.
books are just too weird to cover, to
for
be
the other.
honest.
Yeah,
The
it's pretty weird.
second the second one that we reread recently, though, that's not that weird. I mean,
Well,
there's
book 4 would be too weird to cover.
book 4 would be super weird. Yeah.
Book 5 and 6 would be pretty cool, but I don't.
Is it
I think
3
it's
where
too.
Is it 3 where Leto becomes a sandworm, like he merges with a sandworm? That might be too weird too.
Well, 4 is he's like the God Emperor and he's like a sandworm. 3 is when
That's
he starts
4?
to get his
Okay.
powers, when he goes
Well,
and
I
like.
haven't read past the first 2 books.
Yeah. I think they're worth reading. I like all 6 of the original books and 2 of the prequel trilogies by his son and Kevin J.
Yeah,
Anderson.
because I
Oh
don't
wow,
think
you
you
went
can
late.
make book 5 and 6 without significant changes because of, I don't know, like super prostitutes and sexual powers. I don't know how well that would go in today's audiences.
Yeah. Well, some of that stuff is even worse in some of the prequel books too. Like in one of the original prequel books, there's a scene in which a woman gets raped to death by a whole army of men. So that's
Yeah.
pretty fucking phenomenally graphic
Oh
and
yeah, I
disturbing.
forgot
What the hell?
there's a underage rape as well. And
Oh, I forgot about that too. Yeah.
when
Yeah.
when Duncan gets raped.
Oh
It's
yeah.
so freaking weird. Those damn
Duncan,
books.
Idaho gets raped.
Yep.
As a child, like a child version of
Oh, what
Duncan,
the
Idaho. Someone has sex with it to unlock his abilities. This is weird, man. I was like,
Yeah, man.
really? Are you guys going this way? So that's why I don't think books like 5 or 6 can be really put to film. It's just too weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
they're
just
fine to read. Like they're 5 and 6 are pretty entertaining, but I don't think they can make movies out of those.
yeah. Yeah, they're definitely good. They're definitely good books though. I just thought it was funny seeing him in that random homeless person who's also a secret hardcore Christian and really likes Jennifer Lawrence and almost spontaneously marries her towards the end of the movie because they're about to be destroyed. I thought that was quite a contrast to the character of Paul in Dune.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to see it yet. I'll see it eventually. I just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's definitely worth watching. Yeah, there's so much. Oh yeah, we didn't talk that much about the Leonardo DiCaprio's affair with Cate Blanchett. That's when he gets so corrupted by, I guess,
The
sex and
fame.
materialism and popularity and fame that he just starts having an affair with her because they actually do make Cate Blanchett look kind of hot, even though she must be in her 50s by now. They make her have that obviously fake news host hot look where you've obviously had plastic surgery and you've been in makeup for hours and all that kind of shit.
Well, yeah, so basically, like a news host. I
Also,
think
that
she's like in
character,
some other like movie where they tried to make her look hot, like some noir type of movie
Okay.
that's coming out.
they tried to make her look really posh too. Like she knows four
I think you cut
languages,
out
has
there.
like multiple degrees,
Yeah.
like slept with former presidents and stuff. She's like really up there, like elite.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. A lot of elite rich guys and super smart scientists and stuff like that. That kind of seems like part of her attraction to fame and materialism too. Like she wants to be seen with these rich and or super successful men, and that a part of why she makes herself look so hot, I'm sure too.
Yeah. Also, she just gave in to her desires, I guess, like hot scientist.
Yeah, she was kind of more free willing, and she kind of talked about the transactional nature of their relationship.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely. Like she didn't even want to know anything about him for. She was really reluctant, right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. So
Also,
Cate
he kept
Blanchett
talking
is
about his
52.
dogs, though.
She's 52, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it makes sense. Because she was they made her look legitimately beautiful in the Lord of the Rings movies 20 years ago. So I just thought logically she should probably be at least in her 50s by now.
Right. And I guess she's going to be in an upcoming movie called Love and Thunder Thor.
Okay. That's
So
the
that
noir one you mentioned?
no, the noir one is called Nightmare Alley,
Oh,
and
okay.
I believe the
Oh,
co-star.
is that the
Go
one with
ahead.
Bradley Cooper?
Yeah. Well, this one came out already, I think.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's with Bradley Cooper, and she's like made up in a similar way, where she looks hot for a 50-year-old.
Okay. Yeah, that whole the whole news program, what is it? The Daily Shot, or what the hell is that news program called in the movie? The Daily Rip, that's what it's called. It's all like it seems to be a really good analogy for just standard quote unquote mainstream news today, where it's supposedly that they're supposed to be reporting legitimate news, but it's all like entertainment news basically.
Just clicks.
Well,
Yeah.
isn't it kind of like most morning news shows?
Yeah,
It's
basically. Yeah.
basically like the Today Show, or I don't know what kind of shows you have in Canada, but every major network kind of has like their own like morning. And it's not it's a news show, but it's more like kind of a poppy entertainment type of show, even though they do cover news also.
Right.
It's like usually a feel good type of show. They don't usually cover like super heavy like topics. They'll have like
Right.
guests come on, and most of the topics are kind of lighthearted.
Right. Yeah, that fits
Yeah.
perfectly with what they were trying to get them to do in the movie. Just keep it light and fun. This comet that's coming to destroy the Earth, just try to keep that light and fun.
Yeah,
Are there
if you think
aliens?
of
Yes
like
or
Al
no?
Roker, huh?
It just says, "Are there aliens? Yes or no? Is there life out there? Yes or no?"
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's what
there's
that's
not
what
enough data.
that's what he wanted to know. What's Tyler Perry, that's the actor. That's what he
Yeah,
wanted to know. Yeah.
and
Yes,
I
there
guess
are aliens, basically.
oh yeah, didn't Tyler Perry try to bang Cate Blanchett.
Yeah,
That's
like
like,
at the end of the movie when they know that the comet is coming and it's not going to destroy them, she finds him in a bar and he says something like, "Hey, what you don't want to do? We could drink, we could fuck. What you want to do?" And she just says, "I just want to drink and talk shit about people."
right. Yeah, because I found the movie at least quite depressing until they pivoted over to like what happened to that spaceship. As
Oh, like the very
when
end of it?
yeah, because like when a disaster was happening, you just saw like places getting destroyed, and you saw like chunks of rock like floating out into the nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, that's kind of a really depressing way to end a movie.
Yeah.
And the elites only watching their own backs, like protecting their asses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Going to
Don't they
that
like
planet.
show off like at some point they're all like they just go to space and just go back down?
Well, they go to a planet, that's
Okay.
for sure. Because they get off on the planet and like none of them are wearing clothes,
Yeah.
which
Well,
is
and
strange.
it took them 22,000 years to find it. We know, right? And I'm just assuming that the comet destroyed the Earth's environment to the point that it either wouldn't be safe for human survival or it would be, but everything would be so destroyed that you wouldn't be able to access natural resources and there would be natural disasters and that sort of thing.
Do you think some animals survived the comet? Like, like the
That's
dinosaurs, they
possible.
were wiped out, but like other creatures survived, right?
Yeah, we know all, like even microscopic molecules and bacteria and stuff like that are really good at surviving, like the tardigrades or water bears that I've heard about a lot of times are they're microscopic and they can survive the radiation environment of space. And then there are extremophiles, right, which have been discovered that live right outside of the tops of volcanoes and inside frozen ice in the Arctic and
Oh yeah.
Antarctica too. So yeah, that could totally be possible.
Yeah, maybe the planet's gonna regenerate, but yeah, humans are screwed.
Yeah. Pretty much. Obviously a pretty strong lesson. But do you guys agree with my thoughts that the criticisms of this being kind of hypocritical because it seems like virtue signaling about being pro science and COVID doesn't really make sense? Like kind of like what you were saying about how it doesn't seem that way with climate change either, or even that it's a direct analogy for climate change in a way. Right. Dusty?
Well, I guess it could be used in that sense, but I wouldn't say. I think if you're talking about like the meta narrative, it could just be like science versus anti-science, which spans like multiple different things. And I don't even think it's just science versus anti-science. It's more like science versus capitalism. So you can say like, cigarettes, because there's a lobby that of course wants to protect those interests. And when you think about climate change, it's not the climate change itself, it's the oil companies that are protecting their interests.
Yeah.
I think it's a bigger discussion than just climate change. Like we're talking about,
Yeah,
climate
the movie
change.
is too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're talking about how, heroin became this marketable drug that's obviously dangerous, and the manufacturers knew that, but they pushed forward and tried to get legislation favorable to them so that they could make a lot of profit. So yeah, I think it's just bigger than the climate change. It's just more about doing things like spreading misinformation for the sake of capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
I
at
think
the
that's kind of
cost
like
of
the conversation there.
even at the cost of the existence of the human species.
Yeah, like it's. I would say overall, it's probably a more critique of capitalism than anything else.
Yeah, that makes sense, I would say.
Capitalism and like the corruption in politics, how it corrupts politics and politicians. As you remember, there's that one, I guess, general in the beginning that like made them pay like $20 for like their
Yeah,
snack.
I was gonna mention that too, because Jennifer Lawrence is dumbfounded by it for the rest of the entire movie.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on there.
Also, when they first
go ahead.
When they first bring the topic up, like they calculated that the asteroid is gonna hit Earth, the president says, "Oh, there's been countless scientists who's been talking about doomsday. Those brought doomsday to us, so we can't take this seriously." So you can't really blame the politicians as well, like, because there's been other.
And it's
Although there's a consensus thing, all right.
Yeah, and it's a super broad narrative too, because the the president doesn't get on board with doing things to stop the comet right away due to political corruption, and later on they abort the mission to make the comet explode into smaller pieces due to capitalism. And then Leonardo DiCaprio's character is corrupted by fame and sex. So it's all of these corrupted influences collectively that destroy human civilization. And with that general charging them for the free snacks at the White House, the part was interesting too, where Oglethorpe was talking about basically using an example to illustrate that he thinks the general did that just to go on a power trip. So the corruption of power, because he was talking about how he met Sting one time and he farted in front of him while making direct eye contact and didn't say anything, and he got away with it. So it seems like he was mentioning that story to illustrate the corruption power of fame, that if you're famous enough, you can fart in front of them while staring into their eyes and they won't say anything if you don't.
So I'm looking about the naked scene, and I'm getting like a couple different conflicting stories that the director is saying that Meryl had a body double, but she's saying that she didn't.
Interesting.
So,
I don't know who to believe.
Yes.
Because I know it says also that Leonardo DiCaprio objected to her appearing naked in the film.
I'm the same way.
Why?
What?
Don't know. It just says that he considers her royalty, like acting royalty.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
That's funny. That's his like corruption of fame.
Very Puritan of him.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that like tramp stamp is like legitimate or not.
Oh, okay. Well, you would have to find out. We would have to know for sure whether Meryl Streep has a tramp stamp.
What's a
Let me
tramp
see if
stamp?
it's it's a type of tattoo.
It's lower back tattoo right above the butt.
Oh, okay.
Is this a body double?
Does Meryl Streep have a tramp stamp? I wonder. I bet the internet definitely has opinions about that. Oh, I just probably looked up the same article as you. Why Leonardo DiCaprio had a problem with Meryl Streep. And
I saw one of that. Yeah. There's different articles about it.
Oh yeah, fans are. Does Meryl Streep have a tattoo? Fans are curious after a "Don't Look Up" scene sees the star with a butterfly tattoo on her lower back.
Yeah, it's a body double.
You think so?
Yeah, that's what most outlets are saying.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it sounds like maybe Adam McKay, the director, listened to Leonardo DiCaprio about that.
Okay, so yeah, no, like I guess she was gonna do it, but they made her get a body double.
Okay. Good to know. We've learned the most important bit of information of the whole movie.
But I guess those other people were naked.
Okay.
Other
Like
people
including
in
the
it.
actor who played Bash. I don't think there were any other named characters in that crowd. I don't think we
Yeah,
saw
but I don't think
Bash's butt or
yeah, it
anything.
didn't show his yeah, it didn't show his ass. I think it only showed him from like the waist up.
Yeah. That's such a funny line that he ends off with too. Don't try to pet them.
And they're just killing everybody.
Yeah, don't pet the Bronterocs.
I'm surprised
Yeah.
they didn't take any weapons to like they went to space, but they didn't
Yeah.
take any weapons.
Well, they got
Yeah, that
off of
was
the
stupid,
thing
right?
without clothes. Like they weren't wearing clothing. I don't know why
Yeah.
they would do
That
that.
seems that seems kind of stupid too. Like it seems
Wouldn't they
like maybe
send somebody out with like a space suit or something like that? You know, first to check
yeah.
things out. No,
Yeah.
they just emerged
Maybe
naked.
Bash read on his information that he was looking up on that tablet that it had a safe atmosphere to breathe in, but you would think that you would still want to go out and check first.
Yeah, but what are there like bugs? You know that bite. You know, dangerous, other dangerous things.
Send her to Scazio and stuff.
So I don't know. But it did make it pretty funny. Because I think
Yeah.
didn't she like approached the thing and immediately got handled.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny to learn that it's a body double, but oh
Yeah.
well. I wonder if she has that tramp stamp or that they just didn't care. They just got somebody.
Yeah.
Why is the tramp stamp so
What's
Your audio
that?
cut out there.
like
What'd
Western
you?
culture?
Yeah.
That should be like
Well, it would just
yeah.
seem
Why is the tramp
weird
stamp?
to be on a 70-year-old, you know.
Okay.
Because you
I
know
didn't
those
know
were
you
like
didn't know that. I didn't know you didn't know that term. Yeah, it's a really derogatory term for that having that tattoo. A guy could have that too.
yeah, I've seen guys like in the UFC with tramp stamps. Because I
Yeah,
don't know, the UFC just has a lot of tatted people. It's just they love their
that's true.
tats in the UFC.
Like
But
savage cage fighters. That makes sense.
yeah, it just seems strange for somebody of her age to have one. That's why it was weird.
She could have gotten it when she was way younger.
Yeah, but when were those big? Like in the late 90s?
I would say so.
So what was that, 30 years ago? She'd be like 40. That would be still kind of weird.
Your young years could last a long time if you're a famous celebrity. If you want to.
I guess so, but it's still kind of strange.
Yeah.
But it was a body double anyway, so I think we can safely assume that she doesn't have one.
Okay. Well, we figured out the most important information we need to know about the movie.
That it was a body double.
Yep.
Absolutely.
But I'm kind of like interested in the guy that plays the Bash scientist. So does he always play like weird autistic people, like in all his roles? Do you know
Bash
anything about
scientist?
that? Yeah, because
No,
and everything I've seen of him, he just plays like a weird autistic person.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen him in anything else.
Well, he was in Ready Player One.
Oh, he was? I don't remember him from that.
He played
I haven't
like
watched that.
the game
It's
designer
good.
who created the world, and he died, and he made that contest
Mm-hmm.
when he's at the end of the movie, and he's like weird and autistic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, have you seen the movie?
Yeah, I've seen that. I didn't remember that.
Holiday.
Okay.
His name is Halliday or something.
Right, yeah.
Like the
Okay.
main designer who died.
Okay.
But yeah, he always plays it. I don't know. In both of those movies, he plays like a weird, like autistic engineer. Except in the first one, or in Ready Player One, he's obviously the type that's really socially withdrawn.
Mm-hmm.
But in this one, it looks like he does socially interact with a lot of people, except he's still kind of weird, kind of like an Elon Musk type.
Yeah,
know.
he's super
That's
odd.
most engineers.
Yeah,
What's that?
That's
Most
most
engineers.
engineers. Most STEM people are like really weird. If you
so the
I know
stereotype is
that.
true.
Of course.
stereotype,
Well,
there's
not
some truth
always,
to it.
because
Not
I've
always,
worked with
but
some people.
lot
Some
of-
of them are
It's
normal.
like 50-50, I think.
It depends on how
Yeah, his
STEMmy
character
they
is so
are.
great. He can't make eye contact with anyone or be touched or anything like that.
Does he say that? Don't touch me, or
I think he says something like that at one point when someone touches him, or someone says he doesn't like to be touched. I don't remember which one it is.
because I know
I
he
don't
was also
remember
in
this one.
Dunkirk, but I don't know who he played in Dunkirk.
Okay. Oh yeah, we should talk about Ron Perlman's character too. When they're planning that original mission, they think they want to have a hero to celebrate, even though they could do it remotely or with a robot, and that's what Leonardo DiCaprio suggests. But instead, they pick this old-fashioned hero, standard stereotypical American guy played by Ron Perlman, and he's all like stereotypical badass, and it says things like, "Yeah, the only thing that can make this better is a shot of whiskey." And then as he's giving his speech when he's taking off, he says something like, "I just want to thank all those hardworking white folks out there." And the general's in the room watching the launch says, "From a different generation, you know." Yeah.
Well, doesn't he end like the movie and he's just kind of shooting at the sky?
Yeah.
With
The
machine
comet.
guns?
The comet. You can see the comet looming, and he's shooting his gun at it. You'll never take me alive.
Well, unless he's gonna shoot himself, that's the only way it won't take him alive.
Well, yeah, it won't take him alive because he's gonna fucking die.
Oh man.
Oh, Jennifer Lawrence's boyfriend was hilarious too.
Which
He's
one?
her
The
boy-
first one or the second one?
The first one. He's her
Okay.
quote unquote journalist
The
boyfriend,
journalist?
and he's writing clickbaity stuff, and he's asking her like, I want this to sound good because it's not clickbait, even though it's obviously clickbait. And then as soon as she has that freak out on TV, he writes an article about how I actually
dated her.
slept with that crazy woman on TV. And then later on in the movie, we see that he's writing a book about how horrifying his experience was to date her.
Oh,
What
man.
movie are you guys talking about?
Don't look up.
Yeah,
Oh,
Jennifer Lawrence's boyfriend.
Has two boyfriends in this movie.
Well, that guy there's that guy at the end who that homeless guy who she ends up marrying, and then there's the guy at the start who's her boyfriend, who's the journalist, and then he betrays her by writing an article and getting famous on social media by saying that he slept with the crazy chick when she freaks out on the Cate Blanchett and Tyler Perry's news show.
Oh yeah, I remember now.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's a satire of just like everything that's wrong with
Yeah,
modern society.
everything wrong with human society for
Like
sure.
clickbait. Yeah, that's. I bet I could probably find an article where somebody is complaining about, like, a journalist had dated somebody and they're writing some type of tell-all about
Oh
that
yeah, for
crazy
sure.
person.
Yeah,
Like
for
that
I bet
happens
sure.
all the time with like the Me Too stuff.
I
Yeah,
bet I
yeah,
missed
definitely.
a lot of references because I don't use Twitter, but it makes fun of Twitter a lot. In the movie, they criticize Twitter a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
just
the
got
hashtag
18
thing.
notifications in a row. And I bought that DJ's new album. And my phone, I didn't even tell it to. There's that little part with Bash where he's introducing the new phone too, where it'll know your feelings so well that it can detect your mood through measuring your blood pressure with your finger, and it'll show you pleasing videos of puppies. Oh, it's so great.
That sounds like Facebook videos.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
did
YouTube
Bash, did he
videos too.
have a social
Yeah,
media
YouTube.
platform?
I think that seemed like it was the Mono Corporation, but I don't know actually. Did it say the names of the social media companies? I don't remember whether it did or not.
Maybe just Twitter. Oh, maybe even I don't even remember if they mentioned Twitter specifically.
Yeah, I don't either.
Did
They
they
might
talk
not
about
have been allowed
hashtags?
to.
Yeah, they did they basically had de facto Twitter in the movie, whether they called it that or not.
Yeah.
That's what I felt. I don't use Twitter, but that's what it seemed like.
Yeah, I use it occasionally.
Oh, Kid
Like,
Cudi played DJ cello. Oh, I didn't realize that. I've listened to Kid Cudi's music.
that was Ariana Grande's cheating boyfriend or whatever.
Yeah. That was so funny when they were talking to each other over the TV. You know that cheerleader just wasn't wearing panties that night, you know? And then she's like, I'm so sorry about it. I got drunk with those linebackers that one night.
And he just proposes to her, and she's like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
She accepts his proposal,
Of
like
course.
all on
Like,
air.
blows up everything on social media, and that's all everyone cares about. And even when Leonardo Dicaprio and Jennifer Lawrence are waiting in that room before they're going to be on that news show, when they meet Ariana Grande's character for the first time, he's even like, he feels like he's done something bad by not keeping up with their relationship drama as much. So he says something like, you know, you seem like a nice person, so I'm sorry that you guys broke up. And then she says, fuck off, old man. And then later on, when he leaves, when he stops working with the president on their project because he gets fed up, the two of Ariana Grande and Kid Cudi's characters, they do this like concert benefit to help their thing.
Right.
Well, really, they're just like using the Comet to promote themselves through capitalism and fame, and make those amped up through that as well.
But
Yeah, get
didn't
trending.
she sing about looking up at the comet?
Yeah. Yeah. Look up at the Comet, it's right there. Oh. So what were your favorite parts of the movie? I said mine are basically the end parts.
Mine is the
Yeah, I think.
president when they bring the news to the president, and the president and Jonah Hill, chief of staff, are like talking about it. They're not taking it seriously. That part was really hilarious.
Yeah, definitely. What is
The
this?
Bash, like the first time you see him and he's like talking at a press conference, or not. It was like a convention or something, and they're like, "Man, this guy is just wacky as fuck."
Yeah, definitely. Well, one of my favorite, but other than that part I mentioned where he's scolding Leonardo DiCaprio and saying, "We have so many data points, we know exactly how you're going to die. You'll die alone." That's one of my favorite parts. And the other favorite part is when they're launching the initial mission, and he calls the president by her first name, Janie, and could I speak with you? And then she gets distracted, and he yells at her, "Janie!" And she comes back there, and, and Leonardo DiCaprio says, does he have clearance to be back there? And Jonah Hill says, "Yeah, he's a super triple platinum donator to the campaign. He can do whatever he wants." So there's
I
that.
wonder if
Like,
that's what it's like in real life. If politicians
I
are
wonder
like,
too. I wouldn't be surprised if it's slightly less apparent than that. Like maybe they get phone calls from super rich people all the time and consult with them with what to do, and probably lean really forward to what they're saying. Like it probably isn't actually literally like the rich people comes into the White House and demands the president's attention and scolds them and stuff. Although, I mean, that wouldn't really seem outside of the possibility to me either.
yeah, like Clinton and stuff. I don't know, man.
Mhm.
I
Maybe.
don't know. I know a lot of their meetings and stuff are documented, so I don't know.
Yeah. It depends. I mean, it depends on the administration too. I bet. Like we kind of know from the Bush administration that people like Dick Cheney and Karl Rove are basically running the entire country's foreign policy.
Yeah, and we know that Trump was on the phone with like Hannity like almost every night.
Yeah. Well, apparently he's been talking with him, or some people have theorized anyway recently that he's been talking with Hannity about the whole Russia-Ukraine situation, and people are speculating about whether it came from Trump or Hannity first, the suggestion to kill Putin.
I'm guessing Hannity.
Yeah.
Is Hannity the Fox News host?
Yeah,
he's a Fox News host.
Yeah, the gray-haired one, not Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, he's the older one. He's like the stupider one.
What do you guys think of Tucker Carlson?
Huh?
What do you guys think of Tucker Carlson? Joe Rogan seems to like respect him or something.
What?
I don't know.
Does he really?
I kind of mostly agree with lefty criticisms of him that it seems like he's kind of trying to kind of a fake populist, kind of like Trump was. Although that does manifest itself in some anti-war sounding position sometimes, so that's good. But I do agree that he was raised in a super rich family, and I kind of don't really buy that he cares about poor working class people.
He basically, his whole shtick is to say the opposite of what liberal media is saying.
And
then he doesn't
anyone-
agree at all. He doesn't talk about any agreements. Like what he will say the opposite. Like everyone's saying, "Oh yeah, Putin's a bad guy," blah blah blah. So he's gonna say Putin's a good guy.
Yeah.
It's like almost like even if you take a look at similar hosts on his network, he will not. If the similar hosts start agreeing with liberals on certain things, he'll say the opposite. Like he's basically just a contrarian.
Yeah.
Like you can catch him in a lot of different. People have made compilations of him flipping his position based off of what the media was saying, so he contradicts himself like all the time.
Yeah.
Is he really popular?
Yeah, he's the most popular host on Fox News.
Isn't he? This was a while ago, but at one point he was the most popular TV news host of all of any.
He probably is because Fox News is the most popular network.
Oh right,
wow,
yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought it was CNN.
He's also the one who suggested that the FBI basically engineered Trump supporters storming the Capitol on January 6th last year.
Yeah, he made that suggestion.
Yeah.
Like, he's all about, you know, the ivermectin and vaccines.
Well, he was about
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see criticisms of that saying that Fox News itself has super strict policies requiring vaccinations, but yet he and other hosts don't ever answer directly when asked directly whether they've been vaccinated?
Yeah, he'll never. And there, you can tell because he can't say no, because that's why he has to avoid the question.
Yeah.
Like, whenever you see people avoiding the question, you can basically come to the conclusion that if they were to answer that question truthfully, they'd get in trouble.
Yeah.
At least to the audience they're pandering to.
Yeah. Because you can't show your hypocrisy.
Yeah, so it's funny. Like, he's talking all this mad shit about the vaccines, and the likelihood that he's been vaccinated is quite high. Because it would be easy for him to say that he's not, if he isn't. But if he is and he lied about it, and then someone finds those records, man, is he going to be doomed as far as like his career goes. So he has to completely avoid answering the question altogether. So is he vaccinated? I would probably say 95% chance that he is, as there would be no reason for him to avoid the question unless he is, you know. So if he isn't, he could have just said, no, I'm not vaccinated, and be done with it. Because I know Rogan has not dodged that issue. He told people he wasn't vaccinated. And there have been others who said that they aren't vaccinated, and then I probably trust that what they say is true. But he definitely would not answer that question, which, you know, it's pretty funny that people that are like super loyal to him don't realize that rhetorical trick that he's doing there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I wouldn't say it was certainty, but I would say that there's probably a really good chance of that too. So you said that you've seen his take on Russia, because I don't think I've seen his take on it. But is he as hawkish against Russia as Hannity, like to the point of suggesting assassinating Putin?
No, he's the opposite. So he talks in justification. So he thinks Putin's invasion is justified.
Look at just to
You didn't know
go
this?
back.
You guys didn't know this?
No, I didn't know that.
Didn't know that.
He's a Putin supporter.
That's fucked up, man. Holy shit. He's not even tracking with Trump this time too. And we mentioned that before.
I think he flipped.
Yeah, because at first he said this is genius what Putin did, and then 3 days later he totally flipped and said this is like the Holocaust.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Carlson is still like riding Putin's dick, but it wouldn't surprise me that if he flip-flopped after Trump flip-flops on it.
Wow, we were talking about the level of dumb arguments that people make. Look at this, what this person commented when we were talking about the Decepticons, aka COVID. It said, Dr. Roger Hutchinson, chairman of the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons on COVID. This is the biggest hoax ever perpetuated on an unsuspecting public. Yeah, one chosen expert who you chose specifically says this one out of context quote, and that's supposed to be a knockdown argument. Good logic, bro.
Yeah. Are we supposed to be impressed by his credentials?
Apparently.
Like, how do you get chosen to be on that board? Is that board affiliated, or is it formed for financial reasons? What do they actually do? Like,
This
I
is
don't care about those big titles. Like,
regardless of their position on COVID, people all over the place on the political spectrum are using this logical fallacy called appeal to authority. Well, this prestigious person at this institution says COVID is a hoax. Well, and then another person will say, well, this person at this prestigious institution said that anyone who is denying COVID is basically supporting Nazis.
yeah, so basically what you're saying is they're using that authority as their right because they are in this position, not because of what evidence is being supplied. They're not
Yeah.
arguing that. They're just saying, oh, this person has all these titles, therefore they are right.
Mm-hmm. It's like how we were talking about in the beginning of Don't Look Up, how the president didn't believe the charges or didn't believe the claims of the comet coming to destroy the Earth at first, even though it was from a doctorate astronomer and a woman who is working on getting her doctorate, who are using this equipment on a regular basis to monitor for signs of comets, to measure the Earth's inflation, I think, right? But they didn't have the right credentials. They weren't at the right institutions like Harvard. And then you could say the opposite sort of thing for people in terms of COVID, because a lot of the anti-vaxxers have said, look at this guy, genius guy like Robert Malone and Dr. Peter McCullough from Harvard and Stanford, and this is my appeal to authority.
Right. A lot of people who point to these figures don't point to the evidence. They point to like the title of, oh, this guy's from blah blah blah. He must know what he's talking about. Well,
Yeah.
look at what they're talking about. Like, does that sound right?
Yeah.
And I've seen like a lot of like what I call radical centrist doctors. One of them is Z-Dog MD, and he does like really, I would say, nuance. He has really nuanced conversations about the Decepticons. Like he'll say, okay, he was right here, but he was like very, very wrong in all of these aspects here.
Okay. I don't
Man,
remember.
with social media, there's like so many experts saying so many things. Like because of the exposure, like people like me, like
Lost you for a
sometimes get
second.
confused. Like,
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, it's
Well,
confusing if you're actually honest with yourself. I think that a lot of major issues are very complex and confusing. Like everything to do with the Decepticons has been confusing because mask policies have changed. The vaccinations got developed. People are giving you conflicting information about all of this shit. Most of which, or at least many of which, do have credentials and they make reasonable sounding arguments. So you kind of have to look into it yourself at least a little bit to get a decent idea and listen to people you trust to form your own opinion. And people trust different people. And the same is true of all the recent stuff happening with Russia and Ukraine, right? Like everyone has this black or white narrative and they're so sure of themselves that Russia bad, Ukraine good, or Ukraine good, or Ukraine bad, Russia good, and there's nothing in between, and you can't and it's hard to know what's happening too, because even people who you and I trust to an extent, like Dusty, who you and I talk about, like Kyle Kalinske, has said that this information is coming from Ukrainian and Russian information sources, so you have to take everything that everyone is saying with a grain of salt, to say the least.
Yeah, because I know there's like a really big differential between the amounts of Russians killed depending on who says it. It's like Russia says, oh yeah, there's only been like 500 soldiers, and then the Ukraine is saying, oh, we've killed like 12,000 Russian soldiers. So, I don't think it's any of those two. It's probably somewhere in between, more or less. And really, it's hard to know how many were killed because we got the side that's perpetuating the war. Of course, they're going to want to publish the lowest numbers that they can, and those who are fighting against them, they're going to post the highest numbers that they can for
Exactly.
Russian casualties.
Yeah.
So it's no real way to know at this point because we don't have any independent journalists kind of confirming these numbers at all.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then cancel culture is a piece of this too, right? And then people tend to only mention one side of the coin with that too. Like that's another thing that that Kyle Kalinske was pointing out, that people will point out, yeah, things like Russia Today has been banned in many countries, but they haven't pointed out the massive censorship of all alternative media that's happened in Russian too, and they're both really bad things and should not be happening.
Right. I think I was listening to a New York Times podcast about the media environment right now in Russia, and they're doing some on the street interviews. It seems there's like a generational divide between what people would believe. It seems like a lot of the older Russians kind of eat up that propaganda and treat it as it's true, and then some of the younger Russians kind of um, fight back against the propaganda. So the ones that you're seeing that are protesting are typically younger generations of Russians. But I guess the propaganda game in Russia is pretty strong, and it's going to get even stronger, since they're banning social media platforms, and they've enacted these laws where if you say bad things about the government, you can go to jail for like 3 to 15 years. So pretty
Yeah,
bad
man.
over there.
Mackle made a good point here too. Impressive how a person's location becomes their credentials. It's as if it entitles you, I think he meant, to give street cred. Yeah, like, oh, this Russian person is saying this what's happening in Russia. Oh, this Ukrainian person says this is what's happening in Ukraine. But we know that both people in Russia and Ukraine are saying things that are true and false.
Yeah, and I know, this is probably all anecdotal, but I've heard like stories about because there are familial ties between both countries, and there'll be people that live in Ukraine that try to talk to their relatives and try to explain what's happening. I don't know what the severity of it, but there is some points where that I've heard where civilians will call their Russian relatives, and the Russian relatives will argue with them and not believe them about what they're saying about the war. So I don't know. It's pretty crazy just to
Yeah,
think about
yeah, for
it.
sure.
Like, because that must be the worst. You have two sides fighting, and then you have familial ties between both sides. It's almost like a civil war in a way. There's a lot of people who are Ukrainian that live in Russia, and a lot of Russians that live in Ukraine, and that have like families across the borders.
Yeah,
Wow.
But yeah,
Mackle said, yeah, it's like when people say, well, it's in the Bible. That's true. You can say slavery bad. It's in the Bible. Slavery good. It's in the Bible. Don't wear clothes of two different fabrics. It's in the Bible.
But yeah, this whole I don't know. I don't know how history is going to kind of look at this situation, because they've been fighting since. I'm guessing this is going to be kind of a prolonged war, but it took them a while to capture Crimea. I don't think it was quick. I suspect that if the Russians do succeed here, it's going to take them longer, and it seems like they're experiencing far more losses than they did for the Crimea annexation.
Okay. What did you say? You heard different estimates of numbers?
Me?
For
I think you said that, Dusty.
oh, you mean like for the Russian deaths? Like I've heard
Yeah.
Russia say, "Oh, we've lost like 400, 500 soldiers," and then Ukrainians report, "Oh, we've killed over like 12,000 Russian soldiers." So there's like, man, that's like a more than 1,000%. That's like a 2,000% markup
Wow,
on the
yeah.
death rate.
Holy shit.
So it's
Well,
like, wow, they're so widely different. Like, which one can you believe?
yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
and then there's still
Yeah,
like
I'm so
until
like I have no idea what this conflict is.
yeah, it's an ongoing conflict. Like this war that's happening now is just um like step 3 in a conflict that's been going on for a while. Because we have Crimea annexation, and then you have like those independent regions that they've been fighting in those regions since like 2014, and then now you have the Russia invasion. So it's
Yeah, I'm surprised that a country can just attack another European country. Like I didn't think like Europeans were like off the chart for like off the table for war, like invasion.
well, all the world wars were started by
But now I'm like
Europeans.
baffled.
So it doesn't surprise me.
That's a good point.
um,
Yeah, I guess.
yeah, so if we have another one, which I think everyone really wants to avoid, um, like everyone is deathly afraid of a third world war, and rightly
Yeah, man.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm totally afraid.
Yeah, because
No one wants
ever
that
since
to
we
happen,
got
man.
ever since nukes were part of the equation, um, World War was like, oh shit. Because if you think about all the world wars, like every weapon that we had conceived of was used. Like
Mhm.
nobody held back on any weapons during the World War. So First World War we had gas attacks and crazy chemical gas attacks and shit like that. Constant bombardment from artillery, little meat grinders, and then you have World War II, where I don't think it was as like crazy because I think they stopped using gas, but by that time we
Yeah.
had more
Yeah,
sophisticated weapons.
they banned chemical warfare, but there was like for example, there were sophisticated bombing campaigns in World War II, and they weren't used for that in World War One. And then of
Right.
course the nuclear weapon, which
Yeah.
is
That is like
was
the most like terrifying thing. Nuclear
yeah.
weapons.
But are nuclear weapons like illegal to use? I don't think they are,
I
to
mean,
be
if a third
honest.
world war breaks out, who's to say that the countries that has nukes won't use them?
Yeah, man. Like
Yeah.
that's why everyone needs to not fucking use nukes, because if one person does, then basically the whole world's fucking over.
Yeah, I know that from what people have been saying, specifically about Putin's like threats of using nukes. People have been saying, at least analysts have been saying, that only people who are losing threaten to use nuclear weapons or in a state of I don't know what to say, but just they're not particularly doing well in their endeavor. Which I'm not sure if that's the case yet here in this war, because from what I heard, they got their convoys up and running. But it's weird because you hear reports from different sides, and I've heard reports coming from like captured Russians saying that they've had like a bunch of logistical problems with food and gas, and a lot of soldiers would puncture their own gas tanks because these guys. Um,
In my country, like the price of soybean oil has been skyrocketing because of this war. Apparently,
Soybean
soybean
oil.
productions related to like Russia and Ukraine,
Mm.
like the
And
fertilizers. The
oil
fer-
prices have been going up for like everyone basically too, because the so much of the world relies um on America in terms of how oil is priced, and America and Canada and I think at least a few other countries are boycotting all Russian oil, which is directly driving up oil prices.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't think Europe has
understand
done a
the.
total ban yet, though.
Okay.
I don't
What were you
Yeah,
saying, Shizan?
understand. I don't understand why they're pressuring, like, the West is pressuring Russia so hard, because Russia's got so much military power and nuke. It's like you're poking into a bee's nest, right?
Yeah, man.
well, they're trying to make the war economically unfeasible. Um,
Yeah.
so in this case, trying to hurt the war machine by not have like giving if they hurt their economy, they have less ability to prolong the war. I think I don't know. Didn't we talk about his war chest that he initially tried to he tried to hoard like a bunch of resources so that in the case that sanctions would be levied, he had enough funds that he could still carry on whatever he needed to do. But in this case, that has somewhat failed. However, I think China has bailed out Russia, and the way they bailed them out is because Russia was banned from any type of international card. Like none of the credit card companies worked in Russia. So if there anybody in Russia was using like a Visa or a Mastercard or anything like that, they wouldn't be able to use them. So they went over to some Chinese system for payment processing. So they got bailed out there. But
And
yeah,
apparently in China they banned, like, the discussion of Ukraine-Russia war on online forums.
probably
Oh,
like
okay.
that doesn't doubt me. That doesn't doubt. I don't doubt that at all.
Yeah, me
Because
neither.
I believe China sees Russia as an ally. I know they're not involved in Russia's kind of version of NATO, where as Russia has like their own NATO. I think it's called the CSTO, but there's only like 3 countries in it, and that's why you see Belarus fighting along with Russia because they're part of that pact. I know when it was the Soviet Union, it was called like the Warsaw Pact. But the CSTO it means Collective Security Treaty Organization.
What do you guys think of rumors that Putin disappears journalists?
No, that's not a
That wouldn't
rumor.
surprise
I
me at all. I think
don't think that's a rumor
he
at
has
all.
done that, hasn't he? So, or something like that at least. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's killed people or had
Yeah,
people
like
killed.
yeah, I don't think it's that much of a question that any type of opposition, he either jails or gets rid of them in some form or fashion. Because we know we
Oh,
had that one guy that was very vocal um, about like Putin, and he got put in jail. I think he,
Khashoggi?
no, not Khashoggi. That was,
No, that guy got Khashoggi. Like, Putin
is it?
does
Yeah,
what?
he tried to poison him or something like that.
Oh,
Or is it? Did he
Oh, did
die?
he?
oh wow.
Well, it seems like Putin likes to poison people,
Yeah.
but I believe we captured like one of his assassins before, and he kind of outed like the tactics that they use.
Okay.
So,
And
but
poison
yeah,
is one of his
there.
favorites.
Well, we've heard about some of them. Like I know we expelled a bunch of Russian diplomats after they poisoned like a Russian expat who went into protection in the UK, and there was some type of weird radiological poison, like poisoned them with
Or
like a
radiation?
yeah, it was like
Oh,
some
wow.
type of radiological poison. So if they touch it, they get poisoned like some type of radiation poisoning.
Wow,
Okay.
that's brutal.
Yeah,
And it's
man.
funny
Wow.
too because they were able to directly link it to Putin because it's a byproduct of particular reactors that are native to Russia. So it's almost as like he
Oh,
was
wow.
trying to sign, like it was almost his signature saying, "Yeah, we did it." You know, At least to the people he killed or attempted to kill.
Right now, Chernobyl is under Russian control, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, I saw that. That's not good, man.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah. Did you
Well, it's
see
scary.
that?
Yeah, sure.
Did you see that Russia apparently bombed some nuclear power plants in Ukraine too?
Well, that was
Wow.
Chernobyl was one of the ones they bombed. They bombed another
Wow.
one in like the second largest city in
Oh, okay.
Ukraine. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, I've been trying
So-
to keep up to date with this stuff. It's hard because there's just so
Yeah.
much.
I'm trying to mostly
different
just
information.
focus on it, like interesting and unique titles for videos, at least, not ones that are just clones of all information that I've already heard about. And yeah, there's so much shit going on, and it's so complex, and people have their super politicized takes about it.
Okay, I found some information about this Russian NATO, and yeah, there's more than 3 countries. It's we got Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. And members who have left this union are Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Uzbekistan. So those are
Why-
3 that left. That doesn't say why, but they all left kind of
Okay.
at the same time. So
Was it
1999.
recent? Oh, 99. Okay.
And then there are some states that are observers but not officially like part of it. And one of them, we have Serbia uh, and an Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, whatever that is.
What is it?
Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. So it's like
Oh,
a
isn't that
it's a
Isn't that
non-state.
neutral?
that's not
Okay.
just Afghanistan?
No, it's like a non-state entity.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well.
Like they're not officially tied to like the Afghan government. Because the
Okay.
Islamic Republic of Afghanistan does no longer exist.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they got their own kind of like whack NATO. I call it whack because like all the countries that are in it are like poor as fuck. Like they don't, they're not known as being like.
Why don't they integrate with the West? Like, why doesn't Russia and the Russian sub countries, why don't they unite with the West, like join the European Union? Why doesn't
I
I
think
have no
they're.
idea. It's because of their
I think they're.
belligerence.
Russia join European Union? Wouldn't that
I
like
think
boost
it's
their
like they're
economy and like
anti. I think it's like anti-Western sentiment, or at least that's what I've heard. And
Yeah,
and
they just
being
don't like the
anti
West
and
at all.
being anti-NATO because it's a Western thing. I think.
And there's a lot of anti-Western sentiment in some
do
of
you
these
think
countries.
if Russia was a democracy, it would like things would be totally different right now?
Yeah,
That's a
of
good
course.
question.
I think so. Like most, I can't think like most of the nations that like Belarus is definitely a straight up dictatorship. Um, I don't know about Armenia if they have like a democratic government. I doubt it. Oh wait, they do have a democratic government, but let's see.
Armenia has been in war with Azerbaijan for a while, right?
I have
they
no
have?
idea.
Yeah, and
I'm
Russia's
not
been
sure about all
involved
those
in
little
that.
countries. But how? That's
Yeah, me
weird.
neither.
Maybe that's why Azerbaijan left that alliance thing. You know,
Oh yeah, that could be it.
Yeah, that could be.
but
I don't know. I don't know enough about it.
yeah, I don't know a whole lot about it either. That's weird. Armenia. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure what the current government is like, but it's listed as a unitary parliamentary republic. Um, whatever that means.
Yeah, I don't know what that means exactly.
Me neither.
They have a president and a prime minister.
I wonder what India is gonna be. India and Bangladesh is gonna be on which side if like a third world war breaks out.
But do you have any like estimation?
Yeah, what do you think?
I think they want to be equal, but if they had to choose a side, it would be U.S. side.
Yeah?
You think so?
Yeah, yeah, because it's a democracy and it's free market capitalism. It's different from, it's culturally very different from Russia and China. And
Hmm.
India has had like previous conflicts with China, and China's allied with Pakistan, which is arch nemesis of India. So
Why are you guys? Why is India nemesis of Pakistan?
it's basically from the partisan times. There's been genocides when the British changed the. Basically, India was one country with
Hmm.
all religions, and then British people, the colonials, they tried to separate it by religion. And during the separation, the because of property and resources and who would go where, the war broke out and there was a genocide. And ever since then,
And both of them have nukes, right?
there's been a bitter relationship with Pakistan and India.
Oh, they do?
Both of them. The interesting about India and Pakistan is that they both have nukes, but they didn't use them against each other.
Good.
Yeah, and they always have border ceremonies every day. They have a
Border
weird
ceremony.
yeah, they have a weird ritual, and there's spectators. They like people. There's like a cultural thing where they show off their like patriotism to each other. Like they don't fight, but they like it's basically a show. It's like a there's like dancing, right? Where it's like a dance.
A dance.
You haven't
And
ever
it,
seen the border rituals between Pakistan and India?
no, I didn't even know that they existed.
Okay,
Me
I
neither.
don't know. I don't know how to explain it if you haven't seen them. It's like people watch it and yeah, there's like a show of force. Each side shows like a force, but without using weapons and actually fighting each other. It's
It's
a weird relation.
like a challenging dance kind of.
Yeah, it's like a challenging dance.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
It's like
interesting.
we're strong too. It's like it's weird. I don't know, man.
That seems like a much better idea than actually flirting with the concept of war.
Yeah, I would destroy each. They're right next to each other. If they use their nukes, they would just it's suicide.
Okay. I just gotta unplug my Bluetooth headphones and plug in my other ones here for a sec because these ones are almost dead.
No problem. World War Three.
D-
Do you think it's gonna
Basically,
happen?
basically
Fucking hope not.
the governments of India and Pakistan are trying to be friendly with each other, but the extremists, Hindu extremists, and the Muslim extremists, they like try to spark wars,
They try to
spark
cause
conflict.
problems.
They cause problems. Yeah.
What is a Hindu extremist like?
Oh man, you don't know about Modi government?
No.
Oh, there's basically they've been killing Muslims in India. That's what I've heard, but that's news from Bangladesh. Bangladesh is a Muslim country, so there's some bias, but
Hmm. Well,
um,
does Bangladesh cover China's like and the Uyghurs?
what?
Does Bangladesh like news cover China's treatment of the Uyghurs?
Oh no, it doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't even
About the coverage of what was that other country? Whether it was the Buddhists versus the Muslims. Do you know which genocide I'm
oh
talking
yeah, it
about?
covers
Is that
yeah, I know
the one during the Vietnam
Myanmar.
War?
No, it's recent. I might
Oh,
even still
okay.
be going on. Which one is
Rohingya and
that?
Myanmar.
There you go. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, they covered that. There's like a lot of Bangladesh is filled with Rohingya refugees, so we have been hosting them,
Okay.
trying to integrate them to our economy and stuff like that.
So you guys
Okay.
don't get any Uyghurs from China? Probably because they speak
Sorry,
Chinese.
I cut out. Sorry,
You guys don't
I
get
cut out.
any
Sorry.
Uyghur refugees?
No, we don't get any Uyghur refugees. Basically, China doesn't allow Uyghurs to escape, so that's what
Yeah,
I
they just
think. They just reintegrate the Uyghurs into their Han Chinese real culture. So
they force them into camp. Kind of
yeah,
like
there's basically been a
it's like that movie
cultural
Clockwork
genocide
Orange.
of Uyghurs, and maybe
Yeah.
yeah,
Did you say that that China is on the side of Russia now, basically?
Well, they're
yeah,
supporting Russia's economy by allowing them to use their system to process monetary transactions because they were using Western systems like credit card systems, like Visa, MasterCard. All those systems are Western. They got cut off from that, got cut off from PayPal, got cut off from Google and Apple Pay. So they only had the only way they could process like payments was through cash for a while. So they had to switch over to the Chinese system, so they were able to process payments electronically.
Yeah, they have their whole other economic system totally separate from the Western one because they wanted to have their own authoritarian way of controlling it, right?
Right. But their system was still integrated into Western systems. So
Oh,
even
okay.
then, you know, their economy still lost a lot of like the ruble still lost, I think it was 40%.
The
And
Russian
that's just
economy.
due, yeah, that's just due to them not being able to trade with the West.
Right.
And then Western businesses pulling out. I think you hear a lot of virtual signaling, I think, about like the businesses pulling out, but it's not because they're choosing to do so. It's because the sanctions allow them not to easily do business. Because I think even some Chinese companies have pulled out from Russia because
Oh,
they
okay.
can't, yeah, they can't do business there because of the
That might be
sanctions.
related to I don't remember the exact details, but that might be related to why at first I had heard something about how it seemed like China was going against the interests of Russia. So maybe that's why one of the reasons at least why people thought that at first.
Yeah, it was monetary. The reason they pulled out wasn't for moral reasons. It's basically because they can't do business. And what I
Right.
mean by can't do business is that company that went into to Russia needed access to the international market. They didn't have that access, and they wouldn't have that access if they had a business in Russia.
Right.
So, but China
can't
and
Russia do
Russia
like
have always been working on making themselves sanctions proof, even though that didn't really work with on Russia's behalf.
Right.
Because Russia doesn't have the same global integration um, that China has. China does business with everybody, and they're pretty closely integrated with the world. Russia is not. Like they're basically a petro state, so the only real export they have is oil, um,
Right.
and that's what their economy mostly is based on their oil exports.
Oh, so that's why
So,
the American economy, because it's the largest economy in the world, in particular, boycotting Russian oil supplies,
well, I
and
think we were
sanctions are
only
hurting it so much.
relied,
Then,
yeah, we only relied, I think, 8% or less in the U.S. on Russian oil. But the oil economy is global, so if any part of the supply is limited, it's going to affect um, prices everywhere, even if you're not a consumer of Russian oil.
right,
Oh, okay,
right,
that's
yeah,
why
that
the
makes sense.
U.S. oil prices have been going up, huh? Because of the oil demands.
Oil demands, and then we haven't opened up our reserves, but even then, the reserves are like for 3 days, so it wouldn't really change a whole lot. But
Right,
I feel for people that drive like forever to get to work or whatever.
yeah, yeah, man,
That might be a good idea to kind of reevaluate, you know, because I remember when I would drive like 100 miles a day for work.
oh
I couldn't
wow,
even, yeah, it would be like a 50 mile trip each way. Uh, I couldn't do that now. That's just way too much.
yeah,
Um,
man,
like my commute is 10 miles. It's I
My
only
mom
fill my
drives
tank
like
up
50
once.
miles every day. My
oh
mom has
yeah,
Yeah,
to drive like 40 miles or 50 miles every day. So, like, once she's in Bangladesh right now with us, but once she goes back, the oil prices are gonna hit her. So her income's gonna go down.
oh yeah.
Does your mom own her house, or does how long has she been commuting that far?
No, we rent a place in San Jose,
Yeah.
apartment.
Do you think about renting somewhere closer to her work?
Her
That would
work is
be.
like taking care of old people, so it's like
Oh, so it
random
changes.
places. It changes, so it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
sucks.
get it. Well, I don't know. Even at our high oil prices right now, we're kind of lucky in comparison to other places because I think Europe, like they're paying like the equivalent of $12 a gallon right now.
Yeah, in
Um,
Okay.
Bangladesh it's
how
like
much are
ten
you
dollars
paying
a
over
gallon.
there?
$10 a gallon right now.
Ten
Like ten
dollars?
dollars a
Oh,
gallon.
yeah. So I don't
Like,
know. We just have always had relatively low oil prices in comparison to other places. I think the only place I would know that you get gas cheaper would be Mexico, but the quality of Mexican gas is questionable. Um, because I would go over the border and think, should I fill up here or not, or should I wait? Because of the gas quality. Um, but yeah, over here in the United States, because we're also an energy producer, we produce our own oil. So that's why
oh, I
we
was
also
wrong
have
about
low prices.
Bangladesh oil prices. It's $5. It's, I guess it's because we have good relationship with Saudi Arabia. They subsidize our oil prices a bit.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
They sell
so
it
you
for
got
cheap.
that
So
got that
I'm
Saudi support.
looking at the Canadian gas prices, and we measure it by liter instead of by gallon here. So
So
it's
what's your liter price per
the
liter?
it's 184.5 per liter as of yesterday.
It's kind of cheap. This what's like 4 liters per gallon,
Yeah, I think so.
and then you're talking about in Canadian dollars. So 184 times what? That's four. It's like
times
3.8.
four.
Yeah, something like that.
184 times 3.8 would be
So
kind of the equivalent.
okay.
Let's see how much that is. 3.8 equals so 6.99 basically. So that's I think yours might be cheaper than some places here. I know California has ridiculous gas prices.
Yeah, it was
We
four
do
dollars and
well.
fifty cents.
We are a big oil supplier.
Well, it just happens to be that California has the most ridiculous gas prices.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Like, what
So
are they
I
at?
think yours might be less than California.
Okay.
Let me check. Canadian to US, so it's 78 cents per dollar. So give me a second.
Okay.
And I said it was
No, it's more
$6.99.
expensive. It comes to like $5.30.
Well, how
Oh,
much is
okay.
gas in California? I know it's expensive right now.
It's $4.50.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was more than that. I could swear they were like at 5.50.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, yours is like
550? I
5.50
don't know. I've been away
basically.
for like a week.
Let's see I know the average price like throughout the United States is 4.30. And I
Throughout
filled
the
up
United
at
States?
4.17. Yeah, well, it's like the average of everywhere is 4.30.
Okay, average.
But
But it's
that
cheaper
isn't,
in Washington, right? Where you live?
well,
DC?
Virginia is the cheapest on the East Coast, and we're like 4.17.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
That's
how
not
much I
that much of a
paid the last
difference.
time I was at the pump.
That's almost California price.
Let's see what California gas price right now.
Doesn't.
Saying that the average is 5.74.
574? What?
That's what I'm
Oh,
telling
okay.
you. Like California is always like $1 more than where I live.
Okay.
Because the
It used
national
to,
average right now is 4.32, and California's average is 5.74. The
damn, I
most,
don't know. Wow.
yeah,
Because of
and
the.
in certain counties
The
it's
hell? I'm
even
gonna
more than
travel.
that. So LA, it's 5.82 is the average.
Wow.
Let me see what San Jose is. Bay Area, we got kind of different prices, but let's see.
Hmm.
Like the Bay Area prices are comparable to LA prices, which is around 5.80. So
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty expensive. Wow,
San
it's
Jose
like
No.
is
almost
550
$6 a
right now.
gallon.
Mackle said a few days ago gas prices hit nearly $7 in some area of California.
That's nuts, man. I remember
Yeah.
back in 2010, 2011, where we almost reached $5 a gallon. And that's when I was driving like 50 miles a day. No, 100 miles a day because it's a 50-mile trip
Right.
each way. I was like, damn, dude, look how much money I'm spending on gas. Is literally like spending. Was I had to fill my tank like maybe twice a week. So I was at least spending like almost $80 a week on gas.
Yeah, that's
Man,
Just on
expensive, man.
freaking gas, man. And I'm glad I only have to fill my tank once every 2 weeks now. Um, and it's gonna,
yeah, COVID has made it a bit easier for travel. So
yeah, because I only have to drive on the weekends and I only work 10 miles away. So right now it's not really hurting too much since it's only an extra $20 per month that it adds on to my gas bill. But I've seen people filling up SUVs and shit and like really
Damn.
big honking
Yeah.
trucks and they're spending like $120 to fill up their tank. I was like, fuck that, man. Like that's
Man,
what you get for driving a big ass fucking truck.
so many people here where I live drive big ass trucks too. They must be spending tons on gas right now.
Yeah, it's like I'd rather just buy like a fast ass car that gets 8 miles a gallon, you know, than a big ass honking truck
Yeah,
that
me
has like
too.
a 20-gallon gas tank and a
Yeah.
V8.
Yeah, me
Like
too.
I don't see any point of driving that thing around for at least commuting. Like if you're gonna use it to actually do the work that it was made to do, then fine. But if you're just driving that around because you want to look like some asshole with a big truck, then hey, you're gonna pay for those gas prices and more More power to you, man.
Yeah.
I drive a V6, so my car is gonna. I don't know. That's gonna be like a big hit for me. The oil prices.
V6. Well, it depends. Like some V6s get decent gas mileage.
Yeah,
I
my one
drive,
gets pretty decent gas mileage.
I drive an inline four, but my stuff is modified, so I have a slightly reduced gas mileage for my
Oh,
car.
that's one of the modifications you did?
Well, I put a cold air intake, which is illegal in California, but it's legal here, and
Oh,
it
okay.
reduces my gas mileage.
Why is it
I
illegal
think
in California?
because California is very strict with any type of modification of your intake or exhaust system.
Okay.
The
So you can't
smog,
really
like we
modify
have
that.
to pass a very strict smog test every 2 years, and
Yeah. I think we have a smog test here. I don't know how strict it is, but my car doesn't qualify to be tested for smog.
oh
So I don't
wow,
have to test
that's
for smog.
awesome.
Oh, okay.
Any car that's 25
So,
years or older does not have to go to a smog test.
oh, really?
Well, over
Not
here in
in
Virginia.
California. Not in
In
California.
California, it's your car has to be made after 1976 or something like that.
Okay.
So if your
Oh,
car is
okay.
made
Wow.
before 1976, you don't have to do a smog test. But if it's after, you still got to do it. Over here, it's just
That's
25 years.
that's kind of funny. So
Oh, my car is 2002, so
what's
I
a
guess
V6? Is that the type of engine?
It has a six-cylinder, so it burns a little bit more gas.
Okay.
yeah.
Because I have an inline four, but I said it has like intake stuff on it. Because I think currently I only get like 22 miles a gallon, maybe.
Oh wow,
Maybe 22 miles.
I get 25 miles per gallon. So
See, so
I guess
you're in better state than I am.
yeah, I guess my V6 is not pulling that much oil.
Yeah, it just depends on how your stuff is set up. Like mine is not set up to be lean, so. But anyway, like I think even at factory, I think it's like 26 or 25 or 26. So it would be
Okay.
kind of close to what yours is.
You know, on a totally different note, you know, how I was mentioning how some people were criticizing Don't Look Up because they thought it was virtue signaling, and they Bash and the president and everyone decided in the movie to abort the mission to destroy the comet at the last minute when they were making the first launch, and they wanted to make they did it because they wanted to make over $150 trillion, but they actually sold it by virtue signaling about bringing people's jobs and particularly ending world hunger and world poverty. Like, it obviously seems that they have no intention whatsoever to do that. Do you guys think that's reflective of reality and what politicians and businessmen say too?
Well, they always have to spin it in some type of positive way.
Yeah.
Because if they're going to be mining this comet, there's going to be all kinds of industrial waste and byproducts that are probably going to fuck the environment up.
Yeah.
But they got to spin it in some way that's going to benefit people in some typical way. And that's just like how politics is.
Yeah.
Like they're going to try to spin whatever they're doing in the most positive light that they can.
Yeah.
And hey, if it worked, fine. But they put too much belief in this weird, like Elon Musk figure.
Yeah.
And
Well, then obviously, I think it was Leonardo DiCaprio's characters said something like, "Who cares if you get $150 trillion and give people jobs if they won't be alive for any of that?"
yeah, and then they were trying to get more specifics from Bash about how they were going to do things, and they just wouldn't want to explain it. They wanted to basically, Leonardo DiCaprio wanted to peer review Bash's process, and because they were very secretive about it, he lost faith Oh, I don't think he even had faith. Well, yeah, he did have a little faith in the beginning when he first heard about it. He was skeptical, but he lost all faith when they're being very secretive about how they would do things. Because I know he was kind of praising their technological advancement when
Mhm.
they kind of gave him like that PowerPoint version about what they were going to do.
Yeah,
And then when he asked for more specifics, he was like, maybe they're full of shit.
yeah. Basically, just exaggerating massively what they were capable of doing,
Right.
and just were so motivated to get rich that they, well, like as we mentioned, as is shown in the movie, they're firing scientists who ask too many questions and not going through the peer review process as much, which cost them literally the entire planet.
It cost them the entire planet, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like virtue signaling. I don't know, like what exactly are they saying that is being virtue signaled here?
I think it's like the pro science stuff. The people who are criticizing that anyway.
So what are the people saying though? Are they saying, "Oh, you shouldn't trust science," or what are they saying?
No, that's it. That's why that criticism is confusing to me, because the people who, like I said, from that wisecrack channel who are making this are obviously pretty lefty, given what they've said about what I've heard them say about politics before.
Right.
So it doesn't even make sense for them to be saying that sort of thing, especially if we're talking about COVID from kind of a lefty perspective, because the Decepticons have been so politicized that the if you're a lefty, you tend to be like really pro science about it and really demonizing of the anti-vaxxers and stuff. But it's not like even Bash in the movie and everyone who's following what he's doing. He's not an anti-science guy. He's just a pro-capitalism guy. He does care. He does, like, he's an engineer himself, but he cares more about enriching himself than he does anything else. It's that he's not following all the proper steps of the science, really, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, like he's
and obviously Leonardo DiCaprio is a super lefty in that way too. And if we're talking about it in terms of climate change analogies, for example, we know that he's super on board with stereotypically what lefties believe about climate change. You know, that it is real and it's destroying the world and stuff. And I haven't actually heard that much of what he said directly about it, but I've heard that he gets kind of extreme about it. But I mean, it doesn't make sense for him to sign on to that sort of criticism, I think.
What would you think of Jennifer Lawrence's mullet?
I thought it was good. I liked it. I liked her hair because I like redheads.
Okay. And she had that kind of mullet / Skrillex thing going on.
Yeah, that's a good description, Skrillex thing. Yeah, that's interesting, actually. They made Leonardo DiCaprio look more like a stereotypical scientist. He got fatter and he got glasses and a nerdy haircut, but all they really did with Jennifer Lawrence was make her a redhead.
And they gave her like a septum piercing or whatever it was.
Yeah, and she's a stoner.
Right. Basically a college student.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, she was listening to Wu-Tang Clan at the beginning of the movie too.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I think I don't know what I was watching, but somebody didn't know what the Wu-Tang Clan was. Oh,
Whoa, must be those Gen Z people.
I think it was a React channel where they had people listening, like teenagers listening to 90s, like hip hop and stuff.
Oh, okay.
You know, those channels designed to make people like me feel old.
Yeah, 90s rap is great, man.
Surprisingly, a lot of kids got a lot of it. So I was like, okay, I'm not that old yet.
Okay. Well, some
Yeah.
of those artists are still making music today, like Snoop Dogg sure is, and a lot of others are too. Like the RZA still is, I think,
Mhm.
and maybe like a few other members of Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah, and then there were a couple.
I know Wu-Tang Clan from Dusty. I heard their songs from Dusty sharing his link.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I became a fan.
Oh, okay.
You became a
Cool.
fan. I forgot what link I would have shared. It must
You
have
shared
been
some.
something with old DB in it, because he was my favorite of the clan, or
It might have been. It
Method
might have
Man.
been Method Man. We were talking about Method Man at some point and sharing videos of his. I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Method Man and old DB. Those are my two favorites from the clan.
I like.
Previously, the only rap I heard was Bengali rap.
Oh,
But then
interesting.
How
What's
is
that
it?
sound like?
it sounds like it's pretty good. It's pretty awesome.
Okay.
Especially if you know the language, you'd get into the vibe. But if you don't know the language, I guess it's a bit weird. It's just by the beats.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like Method Man and the RZA.
There's a lot of in that clan,
Yep.
but a lot of the early stuff is they took like beats from kung fu movies and they put beats on them.
Those
And
were
they
so
took a
like
lot.
Wu-Tang Clan and some of those rap groups were some of the first rap groups to use violent lyrics pretending that they're going to kill people, which all rappers do today. Don't fuck with me or I pull out my Wu-Tang sword, bitch.
The difference
Yeah,
between Bengali rappers and like US rappers, or US rappers actually have like street experience and like they've been there somewhat.
Some of them
And like,
pretend though. Some of them pretend for sure.
yeah, Bengali rappers, they all pretend. Just
Oh, okay.
they're like rich
Well, what
kids,
do they
but
talk about? What do they talk about?
they talk about like I'm thinking about one song. He talks about how he wants to be a gangster and make his mama proud with how much money he has, like biggest car, biggest house in
Okay.
the place, something like that.
But he was a rich kid, the guy.
Yeah, the guy is my friend, but he's like a rich kid. He's
Oh,
no
he's your friend. You know.
Oh, really?
experience about gangster stuff.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Yeah,
all
he's not a
BS
gangster.
then.
He's just
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's all like
You
whatever.
know,
Yes.
did you guys hear this on Joe Rogan from when he interviewed that guy named the real Rick Ross or Freeway Ricky Ross, who was this
Yeah, I remember
massive
that.
cocaine dealer in the 80s, and they talked about how the rapper Rick Ross stole his name and pretended that he's been a gangster his whole life, even though he was actually a prison security guard until recent years.
Right, I've heard about that story.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, I didn't watch that episode.
It was a
Yeah,
good episode.
check out those episodes. That guy's really fascinating. Once Rick Ross
What's his
got
name? Rick
Rick Ross. Once he got out of jail for all of his cocaine related crimes, he didn't know how to read, so he taught himself how to read.
Oh,
And
okay. I heard that. Podcast. Like he
oh,
learned
okay,
how to
yeah,
read, and then he freed himself with like becoming a lawyer himself, right?
yeah, and
Well, he
now
was
he
like a good tennis player, but he couldn't go to college because he didn't know how to read. Because he said that
right.
he was really good, like tennis player in high school, and he would have had the opportunity to play for college, but his academics were so poor that he wasn't able to do that.
Right. Yeah, and then after he got out of prison by teaching himself to read and becoming a lawyer, he became an entrepreneur, and he has a program now for helping ex-convicts gets jobs, or it's either that or he gives them jobs. I forget which one it is, but it's something like that.
Yeah, speaking of Rick Ross, like I had found out about him from a book by an author named Gary Webb, who wrote a book
Okay.
called Dark Alliance, which is all about Rick Ross and the CIA. It's just
Oh, that
pretty
sounds
crazy book.
interesting. He was involved with the CIA?
Well, they're talking about like the crack trade and how the CIA used money or imported like drugs to crack dealers in order to
Oh,
fund
right.
wars.
Yeah, I remember now that you mention it, him talking about that in those podcasts that he that he was involved with Iran Contra without his knowledge of it, right?
Yeah, so they would basically like the argument is that the CIA would transport drugs from Central and South America, like cocaine and stuff, to these Los Angeles drug dealers, and they use that money to fund like Contra movements in South America.
Right.
Kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah, man, definitely.
That's crazy.
One of the
It's a
most
crazy
clear,
book. I'll probably see if I could get the audiobook from my library and I'll post it in
the
the
whole Iran Contra scandal is definitely one of the most infamous and clear examples of government corruption.
Yeah, one of the guys who was part of it, like Oliver North, he's like a commentator on Fox News.
Is he?
Yes.
Holy shit, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, it's like the worst thing ever. It's like, how can you have this guy on commentating on political issues? He's like one of the most corrupt motherfuckers that's been in our
Yeah.
government.
Well, it's like how mainstream news networks, like even MSNBC or someone like that, for example, will have right-wing warmongers from the Bush administration, oh shit, I'm blanking on it. Oh, John Bolton. They'll come in and get his advice about every war or every fomenting war. Like, I'm sure he wants to attack Russia with this whole Russia-Ukraine situation, for example. I would bet money on that.
For sure. But I think he's been on some of those news talk shows. I don't like the guy. I think the guy's full of crap and he just wants to kill. It seems like diplomatic solutions are never on the table for this guy. Always wants to send in troops and start wars and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember that was funny.
One of the only things that he did but that's good for Trump is that he quit because Trump was not enough of a warmonger for him, so he made Trump look good that way.
Right. That was funny because he wanted to pull out of Syria or something. So he tendered his resignation. Good, man.
Yeah.
Got that warmongering bastard out of there.
Yeah, one of the only good things that Trump did.
I have a question. It's kind of off topic, but who's more of a warmonger, Biden or Trump?
I'd say Trump slightly because even though he mangled the exit of it, Biden ended the war in Afghanistan. Although Trump supposedly started that process too, but he didn't have to actually go through with it either.
I think Biden's always been anti-war, like even when he was the vice president.
Wasn't he pro-Iraq war?
Yeah, he was pro. I think he was pro-Iraq and Iran.
Everybody.
But he was when he was in the Obama administration, like when he was vice president, like you were saying, Dusty. It's in one of Bob Woodward's books about that he talks about how Biden was protesting Obama ramping up the number of troops sent to Afghanistan during Obama's presidency, right?
Oh, okay.
Right. I think Trump was like pro-Iraq war at the time.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, not many people were against it at the time.
Yeah. Let me see if he was pro-Iraq. I think because most people were pro-Iraq at the time. Yeah, because I'm looking at a fact check about Donald Trump, and he was pro-Iraq war during the
most
while
of the
it occurred.
boomers were pro-war. Most of the U.S. boomers are like really pro-war, aren't they?
Yeah, he said that he only began to criticize the war in 2003 after invasion, but he also said that the troops shouldn't be withdrawn, and he didn't become an opponent to the war until 2007 or 2004. So he actually was pro-invasion before the invasion happened.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know.
Afghanistan has
I don't
been
know
like
what Biden when he flip flopped on that. I'm not sure who flip flopped first.
I don't really care as long as they did.
Yeah, it's like I don't know how. It's going to be hard to tell how much of pro-war Biden is going to be until after at
Yeah.
least 4 years have passed, and we can
Well,
make
and of
a
course
good comparison.
he is still continuing all of the other wars that Trump continued, and he's doing drone strikes. I think that I don't remember which I heard when, but at one point I heard that he had ramped up drone strikes, and at another point I heard that he had reduced them dramatically. I don't remember which one was more recent.
I don't know. I don't know because so we have. I think one of the most egregious things that I don't know if we'd be involved in would be Yemen, right?
Yeah, the
that's
bombing of Yemen.
definitely
Yeah,
one of the
the
most
genocide in Yemen.
atrocious.
Yeah.
It's like
'Cause then
a Saudi genocide, right? But it's U.S. backed.
Yeah, U.S. backed Saudi genocide of the Yemen people. Yeah.
yeah, because originally, because I am looking at some statements that Biden made about the Yemen war, because it looks like initially, in February of 2021, he said that he was going to end U.S. support for Saudi-led operations in Yemen,
Oh,
but
that's
then
great.
he actually backtracked on that.
Oh,
So he said the reason says because they're still going to consider the Houthi rebels in Yemen as foreign terrorists.
Of course.
mhm.
Yeah. So they're using the war on terror justifications to continue that.
They just call everyone to. That's what the American leadership does in terms of foreign policy. Always, we don't like these people, therefore they're terrorists. Whether they are terrorists or not, it reminds me of how they was it the yeah. I think it was they that during the Trump administration was the first time that any administration labeled the military of a country as a terrorist organization, and he did that with the Iranian military, I think.
Yeah, because I think Yemen is pretty much one of the poorest countries in that region, but they also have the highest weapon ownership in that region. I think even close to on par to the United States.
Wow. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess it makes sense because they've been in a war. But is it after the war, or were they always like really armed like Americans?
I think it's
I
been
don't
for
know.
years that it's been like that. Like you can go to a market and just like buy an AK. But here's I have a list of estimated number of civilian guns per capita. United States is pretty high, but we know this isn't true. But this says the estimate of civilian firearms per 100 persons is 120. So that's more than people.
120 per 100 people?
Yeah. Well, it's like, there's a gun nuts that own like 30 guns.
Yeah,
So those are probably driving the numbers pretty high.
yeah.
Um,
Well, is it true that there are more guns in America than there are Americans? Over 300 million?
yeah, there's more. Yeah, that's why we got that 120. So there's
Okay,
more guns than Americans.
right.
Um, in the Falkland Islands, it's the second. They're 62 per 100. I don't know why they have so many people with guns.
Falkland
Next, the
Islands
number.
is like contested between like Britain and Argentina.
Oh
It's
yeah.
been a hot spot, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So Britain and Argentina fight each other?
Yeah, there's been some conflicts over Falkland Islands.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Because I
that.
see their flag has like a British symbol on it.
Oh, okay.
And there, yeah, it looks like there has been some wars there in the past between Britain and some Spanish settlements.
Did they used to be, or are they still considered a British colony, and that's what the problem is, or is it something similar or different? Or?
Falkland Islands. Well, here's the description of their government. Devolved paramilitary dependency under a constitutional monarchy.
Oh wow. Okay.
Wow.
That sounds really authoritarian.
And there was a war called the Falklands War that happened in the early 80s.
Yeah,
But
I
right
remember hearing
now,
about that.
it's still being posited as a sovereign state of the United Kingdom.
Okay.
I guess they just have a lot of guns over there.
So they're fighting
So
for their
number 3 is
independence,
Yemen.
but are also authoritarian, which is kind of similar to the Russian situation, except for the Russia, like Russia is not actually owned by the United States or any Western country in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I'm not sure what this devolved paramilitary. Oh, I'm sorry. I freaking butchered that. Parliamentary, not paramilitary.
Oh yeah,
So
that's totally
it's
different. Yeah, yeah.
basically
Parliamentary is like the Canadian system or the
so
British
basically
system.
it's the same system as United Kingdom because they have a parliament under a constitutional monarchy
Right.
as well. So yeah, their government is I guess it just mimics the UK government.
Okay.
But it's Falkland Islands is in South America, right?
Yeah, it's like to the east of like Chile and Argentina, like in the ocean east
Okay.
of it. Yeah, they're
Yeah, I don't
pretty
know.
sizable. It's not like a small ass island.
Oh, I thought it was
It's
small.
let me see if it has like the square. It's 12,000 square kilometers. And population is pretty small. It's very
Wow.
small. It's only 3,300 people. But their GDP is 228 million.
320 million?
228 million for the GDP.
That seems
Oh, okay,
small.
that's pretty small.
Yeah, it's only almost 3,500 people.
Okay.
And yeah, like I said, third is Yemen. So Yemen has 52 guns per 100 people.
Yemen has more guns than
Oh, wow.
Russians?
Yes.
Wow.
That's interesting.
I don't
I thought
think
Russians were armed.
I don't think Russians
Okay,
are allowed to
wait.
be
Well,
armed.
yeah. Oh, yeah, they
Okay.
can be armed. They're authoritarian, right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So Yemen is up there. Like a lot of people own guns. Canada's ranked 7, by the way.
Okay.
It's
That's
34
pretty
out of
high.
100.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
it's being
so it's not maybe it was different back then, but that means it's not true what Michael Moore said in his film Bowling for Columbine, at least today, that Canadians have roughly the same number of guns as Americans.
Well, yeah, it's not even close. At this point, it's showing that collectively Canadians own about 12 million firearms.
Yeah, that's nowhere close to over 300 million. Holy shit.
But you guys have a lot of fucking unregistered firearms, though.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
You guys have more unregistered firearms than you have registered firearms.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
I mean,
Do you
United
guys
States.
think? Do you guys think U.S. doesn't have authoritarian
You cut off there.
government or like a
Yeah.
dictator because they have so many weapons?
What's that about
Yeah, that makes
authoritarianism?
sense.
Could you repeat that?
U.S. doesn't have a dictator or like authoritarian government because there's so many guns.
Oh, do you
I
think
don't
that's
think
the, do you
so.
think that's the reason? I don't
Yeah,
know.
No,
is there a
I don't
connection
think so.
between?
That's what
Is there?
that's what conservatives claim, right? The Second
No,
Amendment. I
I think
really
it's
don't
kind of
know.
ridiculous because the United Kingdom's not authoritarian.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
they have like barely any guns.
That's
Yeah,
true.
that's true.
Japan
That's
is
true.
It seems
Japan is
like
fairly
Australia's okay
unauthoritarian.
that way too, even though they've also banned guns. Although a lot of people would argue against that because people claim that they're really authoritarian about the Decepticon
COVID.
stuff, even though that guy Josh Zepps from Australia told Joe Rogan that it's not.
It's just like one region of Australia that's like that. And
It's
even
kind of
then,
like
he said that
it's kind of like
there
how
were,
it varies between province here in Canada in terms of all the restrictions and mask mandates and vaccine mandates and all that kind of stuff, which is the same way it is in the U.S. and I'm sure probably other countries too.
yeah. And I think he said as a result of their strict handling of it, that they actually had more freedom because they could go places without masks, and there were
Who?
air. He said because they handled the Decepticons pretty well over there,
Oh,
they
in
were able,
Australia?
yeah, that they were able
Okay.
to do things like unmasked and take part in stuff that was banned in other places.
Oh, right.
Because I think
So
the
you were
authoritarianism was about travel, like unvaccinated travel and stuff like that.
okay. So you were able to become less authoritarian sooner by becoming by becoming more authoritarian earlier into the pandemic.
Something like that.
Okay.
Because you could say the same thing about like, South Korea,
What
who
about California and Texas? Like California has had like so much lockdown, but Texas didn't have lockdowns. And then California
It
but
is.
California wasn't restricting border travel.
it really
Oh
did
yeah, that's
it
true.
really depends on how you compare different states and provinces and countries, because like depending on how you compare two different places, you can make it appear that the lockdowns are effective, you can make it appear that the lockdowns are ineffective, and the same thing can be said about masks or anything else.
Yeah, because I think that one province in Australia, they were restricting like cross-border travel as well. And that didn't happen in the States. Like you could still go even if you had COVID, you could still go to another state. You just had to quote unquote quarantine. But that was based on the honor system. Like nobody was
Oh,
enforcing whether you were quarantining or not.
okay.
And I
But
don't believe there were any.
I think in Australia they were enforcing the
They were,
quarantining.
yes.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
enforcing that, and they were in Puerto Rico too. Because
Well,
if you went to Puerto Rico and you lied about like your COVID stuff, you would get put in the jail.
Wow.
okay. Yeah, also, for example, some things were like that here in Canada too, just things being enforced on the honor system. For example, when there were restrictions to the number of people you should have at any gathering, like on holidays. Um, there weren't cops going door to door ringing people's doorbells and saying, "Oh, you have
Right.
11 people at Thanksgiving dinner. I guess I have to arrest all of you now." There
Yeah,
wasn't
I think
anyone doing that.
the only time that would ever happen if somebody reported it. So it's not like they were cruising through neighborhoods looking through like family windows trying to check on how many people were gathering.
Yeah.
Um, because I know a couple instances where they did that. I know here in Virginia, they like forced like church gatherings to stop because of the restrictions. But yeah, it wasn't. I'm not sure how the cops got involved though. I don't know who called them, who showed up, or what. I don't know if they saw a bunch of cars in the parking lot, or I have no idea what kind of sparked their interest with this place. But yeah,
Some
and
YouTubers in California like were hosting like big parties, and then cops,
yeah, they got in huge trouble for that. I
yeah, they
remember.
got in trouble.
I think
Super
their water
they-
got shut off or something.
Oh, I heard that they were having a party, but I didn't hear about the consequences that they suffered for that.
yeah,
Yeah,
they
I
were
think
having
the
wild
city
parties.
shut off like their water or their electricity for hosting like some big ass like YouTuber party in
Oh, okay.
LA or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, usually that stuff is like outlier, the government wasn't monitoring who was coming out in and out of state. They weren't like enforcing state borders. There's like no state border enforcement in the United States. Like you don't get a checkpoint when you're crossing from Arizona to California.
Right.
True.
None of that. There's even when you fly, there's no
Then who checks the
what are you
guns? Like
bringing?
in California, the guns are illegal, right? Sorry.
No, guns are legal. Guns are legal. Certain guns are
so
illegal. I think you're not allowed to own an unregistered handgun, but you can own a handgun if it's registered.
yeah,
You
in
can't own a like
California,
machine gun or anything like that.
can a Texan like come to California with their gun?
Only if the gun is. California has like weird rules when it comes to handguns. So the handgun has to be. Forgot. In California, it's strict. It has to be a certain type of handgun.
Okay.
I forgot what the rule because they changed the handgun rules for Californians. You can own a handgun, but it has to have certain specifications.
Oh, okay.
Because they made it a little bit more difficult to get handguns in California. I think it has something to do with how the serial number is put on the gun. But let's see. I'm looking right now about handguns in California. What handguns are illegal? Well, there are certain guns that are legal and certain ones that are illegal. Because California also has like a crazy thing with cars. So manufacturers that make cars typically make two versions of a car. They'll make a California version and then they'll make a 49 state version.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about that before. What was the reason for that again?
I didn't know
Because
that.
California has very strict emission laws, so they make them put
yeah.
extra stuff on their cars when they sell them in California. So I was buying a motorcycle outside of California, and it was a 49 state bike because I didn't want the California one because California bike was less powerful. So I got the 49 state bike, but in order to buy a bike outside of the state of California or any vehicle, it has to have at least 7,000 miles. So you cannot buy a new out-of-state vehicle and import it to California. It has to be 7,000 miles or more.
Oh, okay.
That's strange. Why is that?
Because they don't want people going across state lines to buy like the dirty version of the car. Because usually the California versions are also more expensive because they have extra stuff on it for emission. So when I bought my motorcycle, it was actually cheaper to buy it out of state. I think I saved like $2,000 buying it out of state, even though I had to ship it. Like I paid $600 to ship it from Kentucky to California, and it was still cheaper than going into finding one. It was still cheaper trying to find that bike used with the same mileage, and it was still cheaper than going to a dealership, even though I bought it out of state. As a bike, when I bought the bike, it had 2,000 miles on it, and I asked the owner to rig the speedometer. So he had boosted the speedometer so that it was past 7,000, so I can register it. So I was like, yeah, just can you speed up that? And so I could register. He's like, yeah, fine, that's fine. He's like, are you
Oh, you
sure?
can
Because
do that. You can boost
not
your meter.
not legally, but yes, you could do it.
Oh, wow.
So he did that for me, so I was able to register the bike in California. But apparently, California has an approved list of handguns that you can buy. So there are certain handguns, I guess, that are illegal. And I don't know what the criteria is. It says, let's see, any aftermarket changes or modifications made to pistols are considered illegal. And I think there's certain things that you can't have, like certain types of pistols that you can't have in California.
Okay.
Because they have what's called the California compliant handgun. So my guess is manufacturers make like a California version of the handgun, and then they make like the rest version of the handgun,
No
just like
wonder
they do
so
with
many
cars.
businesses hate California.
Yeah, it's funny because when I'm working at Amazon, like people call me, it's like, man, I'm trying to ship this, and it says that this address is invalid or I can't ship it. And the first thing I ask them usually is like, do you live in California? They're like, yeah. I was like, well, you can blame that on Prop 86 or whatever. Yeah, you can blame it on that. I was like, well, why can't you ship it? Blah, 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 blah. I was like, well, we try to comply with all your state regulations, so you got to go complain to your Congress people about that. And it'll be like totally random stuff. Because in California, there's this prop that if something contains like a carcinogen, it has to be labeled on the product packaging or on the establishment. Like if you go into a 7-Eleven, it says, oh, this establishment contains products that can cause cancer in it. Like
Yeah, that's
you
the same
legally,
in Bangladesh too. In Bangladesh, it's the same.
oh, they have to do that too in
Yeah,
Bangladesh?
for tobacco products, they show like weird pictures of lungs with
Yeah,
cancer and
they
infection.
do that here in Canada. They have a picture of a diseased lung or a woman with an X-ray vision picture of a deformed fetus inside of her or something
Yeah.
terribly disturbing like that.
Well, the prop itself isn't about cigarettes, so it's anything that causes cancer, including coffee.
Oh wow, coffee too. I haven't
There's so
seen
Yeah,
many
coffee
things
with.
that qualify as carcinogens though that are safe within
baked
reasonable
goods.
levels.
Baked goods are considered a carcinogen in California.
Yeah.
But I haven't
Okay, it's
seen
called
any
Prop.
picture.
Yeah, it's called Prop 65. So, in order to sell certain products in California that have its list of carcinogens, you have to have like a thing that says it causes reproductive harm.
Oh
So,
yeah,
and
I've
this
seen
is
those.
not just cigarettes. This is because California has a list of chemicals known to cause cancer, and some of
Yeah,
these
it's
aren't
on
even
cannabis
in.
too.
Yeah, some of these aren't in even products that you eat. They might be on like pipes or on a like HDMI cable has to have it. It's like different things. So if that manufacturer doesn't have that thing on their label, you can't ship it to them.
Okay.
People get pissed. You also can't ship people in California cold air intakes. That's also
You can't ship
illegal.
them what?
Cold
A
air
cold
intake.
air intake. It's an engine modification.
Oh, okay. Why? Because
So
it causes too many emissions, or
I don't know why California specifically doesn't like cold air intakes, but all it does is it allows more air to enter your engine.
okay.
Um, like normal stock intakes have restrict the airflow to the engine, and a cold air intake opens that restriction. Like, to be honest, it doesn't do much for performance, but it does make your car sound more badass. Well, it does, like, the more cylinders you have, the better performance you get from a cold air intake. So since I have only 4-cylinder, it actually doesn't help that much, but it makes the car sound like faster than it is.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So yeah, I didn't really put that on for performance reasons. I put it on for aesthetics.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, cancer, like but yeah, that's how it is. Like they'll regulate that stuff, but if you come from Arizona and you got a cough and cold, and that might be COVID, like you wouldn't get arrested or anything from that. Not like in if you had some similar thing, I think in Canada, I think they didn't have an issue like that. Was there? Like, did you have border controls for Decepticons or anything like
No,
that?
I don't think so. Not as far as I know, anyway. But
Yeah.
there were a few provinces like Newfoundland, for example. I can't think of any others though that had basically just locked down travel from in and out of the province. But I don't think most provinces did that, and I really actually have no idea about how or whether that was enforced in Newfoundland.
Yeah, I know for sure nothing like that was enforced in the States. Um, like, like I said, it was all honor system. Like you were supposed to do things, but it didn't mean that people were doing those things. Like in comparison, if we're talking about China, they actually forcibly quarantine their citizens. So they would test them. If they test positive, they didn't say, "Oh, go home." They'd put them up somewhere and separate them from the rest of everybody else.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
I don't think the Canadian or American governments have been doing anything like that.
no, they wouldn't. Like it wouldn't even reach that level of I think the only way that happens actually is if it's like an illegal immigration situation
Right.
where someone crosses the border, that's when you would get detained and put away somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, I think in Australia, for illegal immigration, you get put in a hotel and you basically can't leave.
Right. Yeah, that's not so bad.
I
Well,
had heard that in Australia, like they ship illegal immigrants to another island. I don't know
Do
if
they?
that's true. Yeah.
it depends on where you're at, but from what I heard is they put you in a hotel and you basically are stuck there forever.
Oh wow.
Like
Forever.
you either are stuck in that hotel forever or you have to go back to wherever you came from. I think those are like
And you
the
have
two
to pay for
choices.
the hotel as well. Like I've heard you have to
Oh,
pay
you
for the
do?
hotel. Yeah.
Oh, well,
It's
that
not
makes it
free.
not that makes it
That
worse.
makes it, yeah.
Then you basically just have to get a job to pay for the hotel that you've been forced to stay in.
Yeah, but I don't even know if they can get a job.
Oh yeah. Well, how would they pay for it if they have to pay for it then?
I don't know. Maybe they just send them a bill and then they never pay it. I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Oh, I
Huh.
thought you were talking about like quarantine, but oh, you're
Yeah,
talking
that's
about
so.
Oh no
illegal
no no!
immigrants.
I'm talking about immigration. Quarantine, yeah, I think they would have to pay
Oh,
for the
I thought
bill
you
for
were
that.
I thought you were talking about immigration in terms of quarantine.
Oh no, because immigration, they would have you'd automatically get quarantined anyway. Like
Oh, okay.
even if the Decepticons weren't happening, you were put into a hotel in which you couldn't really leave.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know that.
So that's how it works in Australia at least.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
Well, but here you get sent to a detention center, I guess. Like what some people call concentration camp. But actually, Biden's policy is pretty harsh. you don't get anything. You get sent back like immediately.
Oh, okay.
Like
That's
if you
better
apply for
than
asylum at the border, they don't let you in.
Huh? He's even like he's apparently even harsher on border security than Trump was. I don't know whether that's true, but I mean, I've heard a lot of people
is
say
it
that.
true?
I
Is
don't
he
know whether it's
harsher
true,
than okay.
but I've
Oh
heard
yeah,
lefties. I've
he's
heard lefties
pretty
and righties make that point though.
yeah, he's pretty much, I wouldn't say he's a supporter of the wall per se, but he is definitely a supporter for border security. Um, which is
Well, border
fine.
security is important.
Yeah, and that also during the Decepticon era, because of the risk of letting those who may have been inflicted by the Decepticon disease, he did make things a little bit more harsher for people trying to cross.
Okay.
But all he did was he just kept the same policy that Trump had. He didn't like make it harsher. It's just Trump had that policy and he continued to follow it.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of how he kept he he kept Trump's withdrawal of the Iran nuclear deal. Even though he said
Yeah.
he was going to sign back into it, he said he wanted a better deal, which is exactly what Trump said. I heard someone pointing that out today.
That's interesting. But it seems like Iran, I don't know. We haven't really been hearing much of them in the news lately. So I don't know what they're up to nowadays.
There are way worse things going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
a hot
Yeah.
war going on.
Mhm.
We'll have to see, man. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how long this conflict is going to go on for. I don't
And
know.
if a comet actually was headed for Earth right now, like Don't Look Up, the depressing aspect of the movie is that given the way our culture behaves about every disaster, like the Russia-Ukraine situation, for example, that doesn't seem that outside of the realm of possibility of us destroying ourselves over all of these flawed human impulses.
Well, one thing I'll say about the Russia thing, it seems like most Americans agree that the invasion is wrong. It's not like a 50-50 split where half of people are like Putin supporters and half of people are like anti-Putin. It seems it's like the small amount of Putin supporters seem to be fringe and not really like a mainstream thing.
So
'Cause I've seen some interviews of like,
most right wingers are basically just like pro Ukraine and anti Putin.
well, I think right wingers, yeah, most right wingers, like on Fox News, most of their hosts are like espousing anti-Putin rhetoric.
Yeah, like Sean Hannity, right? You said
Yeah, Sean Hannity have.
Tucker Carlson's the only one that isn't, right?
Yeah, I don't follow Tucker Carlson that closely. I know he
Yeah, me neither.
had. I've listened to lefties critique his coverage of Russia and
Yeah.
Putin.
Wait, I'm a left winger and I'm like anti-Russia for this conflict.
No, most left wingers are actually
Yeah.
anti Putin.
Yeah, I would say.
I think most left wingers don't consider Russia to be left on the left.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say so.
I think that's because socially they're not on the left, at least, and
When I think of left, I
economically.
think of Norway or something. Norway, Sweden. I don't, or Canada. I don't think of Russia or China.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
it depends. There are some like super left wing people that throw support for China. It's not a lot,
Yeah,
but
that's
you
true.
do occasionally see it.
Yeah, like Jimmy Dore is one of those people. He's one of those people who even a lot of hardcore lefties hate him.
Well, I think he's kind of like turned into Tucker Carlson, where basically Jimmy Dore just seems to
Anti-Democrats.
be. No, what I mean by Tucker Carlson is he's just become a contrarian. He'll see the opposite of whatever the mainstream is saying.
Yeah. And he's still mostly just doing endless Decepticon denialism videos.
Oh, he's doing Russia stuff too. Like I've seen him do like a lot of there's Nazis in Ukraine videos.
Oh yeah, I've
Like
seen him do that stuff too. Yeah.
So he's
He's
diversified a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good example of him just having to be contrarian and disagree with all other lefties.
Like even Kyle acknowledges that the Ukrainians have a small amount of Nazis within the Azov battalion.
Yeah.
But he's also willing to say,
Ukraine has Nazis?
No,
Yeah.
like that's not their government, is what you were about to say, right? Basically.
Okay.
No, they have like a small amount of like super right-wing nationalists, like Nazis in the Azov battalion.
Mm-hmm.
But also,
like
there's
every
like
Western country.
Jews in the
Yeah,
Azov
and the
battalion
leader
too.
of the country is Jewish too.
Yeah, so it's like him pointing out that they're not, because what people are saying, the media's not telling you that there's Nazis, or the media's saying that no Nazis exist. To be honest, I haven't heard that argument anywhere except from the people who are claiming that argument exists.
Yeah, that's true.
That happens a lot, it seems.
Yeah.
I always find that when they make these arguments, I don't even find the people making these arguments.
A lot of people straw man when they're criticizing the other side in anything. Like people do the public intellectuals who I love to criticize, like Jordan Peterson and James Lindsay, do that all the thing. Like, postmodernists want to bring down Western society. No, they don't. Find that anywhere in any book by a postmodernist, bro. Bro, the critical race theorists are trying to engineer communofascism. No, they're not.
So yeah, it's Jimmy trying to make that grain, it's almost like he's willing to say anything nowadays.
Yeah,
it's like ever since that situation where he got I don't know, do you want to call it Me Too or whatever? He
with the thing with Anna Kasparian, the whole stupid drama with her and the Young Turks.
Yeah, so since then he's kind of been off in his little corner. And it seems like the voices that would make him come to reason are no longer there. That he's just, off in the woods now.
Yeah, I agree for the most part. I stopped listening to him a while ago when he blamed the squad for not voting for Medicare for all, even though there were.
Well, I thought he should have held their feet to the fire. No, you can't say that now because the squad was definitely holding up the vote for the BBB plan. So, yeah, they're a minority, but they threw their weight when they were voting.
He would never say anything positive about the squad now. That's how you know he's not as much of a. He doesn't have as much integrity as he used to.
No, he's just. He has a particular audience that he seems to pedal to, and he got caught in a bunch of lies, and he blamed those lies on his producer, and he supposedly fired that producer.
You sent us the video by that YouTuber. I think his name is Timba on Toast, who does those deep dives into criticizing people like Jimmy Dore and Tim Pool and Dave Rubin and James O'Keefe.
Right.
Yeah, his videos are really good.
Yeah, it's like he takes what you have a suspicion of, he does a deep dive, and he affirms that suspicion with evidence. It's like, yeah, I knew this guy was kind of off.
It's really sad when he shows examples of things like Jimmy Dore taking a paragraph out of context and then rewriting it, or just showing one portion of the paragraph that shows the opposite of what the actual conclusion was. It's the same sort of stupid shit that Stephen Hicks did in his Explaining Postmodernism book to demonize postmodernism and get the intention behind the words that were said completely backwards.
Right. And I remember his it's funny because I remember the debate between him and Thaddeus, and most of Stephen Hicks' argument was trying to tie Foucault and Derrida to communism.
Yeah, which
because
is
they
really
used to be
stupid.
communists. It was like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Are you going to do
Thomas
that to
Sowell
Thomas
used
Sowell
to be
too?
a Trotskyist 50 years ago, and he's 90.
So it's like, yeah, these guys are disingenuous. It's like when you have to use a big bad and tie that person to the big bad instead of, arguing about the arguments that these people are making. It's just that, okay, you don't have that much of an argument, so you got to try to tie them to this bad movement in some way.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at the ideas that they're saying and saying, okay, these ideas are bad on their own.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is.
It's really much better to do that. I really appreciate it much more when people do that. And I try to do that myself too.
Yeah, and I appreciate people trying to challenge. I don't think Thaddeus did a very good job in that particular conversation.
Yeah, I think
he
he was trying to make it sound like postmodernism is super libertarian because to cater to the libertarian audience, but I would have gone about that differently too. I would have just pointed out the flaws, the multitude of flaws in what Stephen Hicks was saying and how much he was mischaracterizing postmodernism.
Yeah, it's just hard. I know. That's why I enjoyed his conversation with Lindsay when Lindsay was sane. Before
he made critical race theory his target, and then
Yeah.
developed this massive conspiracy theory about how the COVID regime is part of the critical race theorists and the critical theorists, and they're going to try to engineer a communist state in America.
Yeah, that's really weird because before I posted that to the site, the MMA, I listened to the whole thing. I was like, dude, this guy's like night and day. Like,
yeah, I know.
He's like nothing like this now. And it's really strange.
Someone could
weird.
easily make a video of past James Lindsay debunks current James Lindsay.
Because it's funny, like right in that video he says, and I even quoted it in like the little couple paragraphs he wrote. He said, yeah, using postmodern tools, you can use these postmodern tools to discredit the current critical social justice movement. So like,
yeah,
really, he would never say that now.
Definitely.
Like at all. And they were kind of like agreeing, yeah, old school postmodernism is okay, and this new shit that they're doing in critical race, or what was it, critical theory, is kind of weird and wacky. But I was like, yeah, at least they got to a good conversation there.
Mm-hmm.
And even I was like really impressed with the amount of knowledge, at least that Lindsay was espousing in that conversation. It's like, yeah, it seems like Lindsay knows this stuff, but I don't know what he's ideologically captured by now. And it seems that there's some type of ideological capture that's happened where he's willing to ignore some of the stuff that he's said in the past.
Was he already that way before the pandemic? Was it COVID and all his theorizing with these insane conspiracy theories about the Decepticon regime that turned him into a crackpot?
That's a good question. I think it's post-pandemic because I didn't hear a whole lot about CRTs in school before the pandemic.
Yeah, me neither.
So, and that's kind of like where he made his crazy turn. and I'm guessing this is like maybe April, March, like 2020. So this is probably at the start of the pandemic where he started like going loco.
Okay.
So it had
Yeah.
to be during Trump because I know he supported Trump for banning CRT in school.
And yeah, so it was Trump. He voted to try to re-elect Trump, so it was.
It had to
I
be
don't
during
really.
that election. So we're talking about the 2020 election. So
Mhm. So I don't know how
and that,
much before then he started becoming a crackpot.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know. People say his Twitter feed is just full of crackpot nonsense, and he's tweeting all the time. And how can a man who spends 16 hours a day reading Foucault tweet as much as he does? You
Yeah.
know, Foucault, Derrida, and all those other people.
Yeah.
So I don't know, because I know they even talked about like Derek Bell a little bit and that,
Mhm.
and they even tried to have a nuanced conversation. And even Thaddeus
Oh.
understood that intersectionality actually is not this collectivist thing. It's
Yeah.
taking a look at every slice of your identity and seeing how that factors into how decisions are made and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, oh, all white people this. No, it's like, okay, that's part of your identity. Another part of your identity might be gay. Another part might be that you're a teacher. Another part might be that your parents escaped like genocide or something. Like there's
Yeah.
a lot of different parts of identity than simply someone's race. And that's what intersectionality is about. Like whenever
Mhm.
you hear intersectionality, it's always used as, oh, it's this collectivist nonsense when it's pretty opposite of collectivist.
Yeah, that's a
It's
good point.
very it's very
That
individualist.
is a great point that he makes against his current self. An excellent point.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I think
like all
at
the,
least
like he says now that everything is all about race and critical race theory, and it's a type of communism because race has replaced class. Not even the people he criticizes make anywhere near that simple of an analysis.
right. It's I don't know. Are you gonna read his race Marxism? I'm
I
probably gonna
probably I
check it
probably
out.
will just to criticize it. That means I better get around to doing my series that I wanted to do criticizing cynical theories. I just get so many video ideas, but I should
Yeah,
do that before that book comes out, or at least start the series.
yeah. We'll see. I don't know. Postmodernism is. I don't know. Some people just don't understand. It doesn't tell you
Like
to do
obscure
shit. It's like,
it's the obscure abstract continental philosophy that has some interesting points but is really hard to understand and has very little to do with anything that public intellectuals are connecting it to.
yeah, because I know in that podcast, like Thaddeus and James were coming to the conclusion that most of the horrible shit that SJWs espouse mainly come from the Frankfurt School, and they only use postmodernism as a logical justification for it. But you can use
People
postmodernism as a
are
logical justification for anything. So it's
but
not
people
like,
that oversimplify and demonize the Frankfurt School, well, not even necessarily the Frankfurt School, but critical theory
Marcuse
in
mainly.
general too. Like I posted on social media yesterday, Jordan, that I'm going to make my own video criticizing a lot of what Jordan Peterson says about critical theory and how he's connecting it to this new sort of authoritarian bill that he seems to want to make himself more famous of. That's like, according to him, a continuation of Bill C-16, which we know was less authoritarian than he claimed it was and had less to
Yeah,
do
didn't it
with
pass? Did it pass? Let's
the
see.
the new one.
Oh, the old one.
The old one, I think it did get. Actually, I don't remember for sure, but even if it did pass, it, like as you pointed out at one point, it passed for him specifically for specific. It was a thing for specifically professors at his school. It wasn't for the general populace at all. Oh, we just lost Suzanne there. So it wasn't this massive authoritarian thing for all of Canada, which is the way that he was depicting it as.
Mm. Well, I think C6, whatever. I think it did end up passing.
Sheezan said he had to go. We should probably end it pretty soon here anyway, because we've been talking for 3 hours.
Yeah, and we're like way off the original topic.
Yeah.
And we haven't said anything bad or about Decepticons, so YouTube, don't be an asshole.
Yes, of course.
Everyone get that shot. Very good for you.
It is.
It'll protect you. It'll offer you some protection. It will reduce your likelihood of severe illness and hospitalization.
And death.
And you'll be doing your friends and neighbors a favor by making them feel secure in social gatherings, etc., etc.
Yes. Good idea. No one should force you to do it, but it's a good idea to do it.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Sometimes you have to be socially conscious and do the right thing for your society, as long as that thing that you do for society does not impact you in an immensely negative way.
And contrary to popular misinformation, it does not negatively impact you in any significant way. At least statistically speaking, of course, there are rare exceptions, but for the overwhelming majority of people, it's not a big deal.
Right. But all in all, listen to your doctor. And if your doctor, we are not medical professionals, but yeah, listen to your doctor and get a recommendation from them, because they would know your overall health and whether or not you can actually take something like that without negative impact. Because I don't know what type of conditions would negatively impact that, but
certainly
you should talk to your doctor.
Yeah, but even for me, my doctor recommended I take one type of vaccine over the other because of my epilepsy, which I had no idea would have any impact on which vaccine I should take.
See, that's why you need to talk to your doctor.
Yes.
They're going to know your medical history, and they'll be able to make a recommendation based off of that.
Yes, exactly. And now that we've made our after-school special public health statement, thanks for talking. Fun as usual, man. And thanks, Sheezan, for joining for most of it this time too. And hopefully Chris can join.
You got a message?
Don't trust doctors. Their titles are just their street cred.
Well, I'm talking about like your personal physician, not just like Dr. Malone or somebody like that who doesn't know your medical history.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust Dr. Malone without consulting your own personal doctor, for sure.
Yeah.
He says some pretty conspiratorial shit.
Yeah, some ridiculous stuff.
Like inventing terms and shit like, what is it? Mass formation psychosis? Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah. That is just a fucking completely made up conspiracy theory.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, Rogan, I guess he knows. He knows.
He seems like he's shifted a little bit And with that apology and stuff, he seems like he's more open-minded about
I
the
agree.
Decepticons. So that's good.
Yeah, I would suggest taking a look at. It's not Decepticon related, but I was listening to the Mr. Beast one. It's pretty insane.
Oh yeah, listened to that one too. I thought it was
That
pretty
one's
interesting.
crazy. I was like, Jesus, this guy, like, he must have no life outside of YouTube. It seems
Yeah,
like.
he's obsessed. He goes through a hell of a lot for his content.
Yeah, so I don't know if I could do that. I was like, man, this guy, of course, by the lifestyle he's living, it doesn't sound like he could have kids or have any type of like relationship with anybody. He just sounds way too busy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna actually start to. I've not checked out a single Mr. Beast video. I think this podcast that I listened to has convinced me that I need to check out his content.
Yeah. Maybe I will too, actually. I thought of that, but I
I
didn't
want
get
to see
around
this
to it.
Squid Game thing that he's been talking about.
Yeah, I want to also. That sounds pretty interesting.
But yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, thanks for talking, man, again. Fun as always. Thanks everyone for watching. And yeah, let's prioritize your podcast next week, man, and make sure we talk about that Brett Weinstein and Heather Haying book, Hunter Gatherers to the Guide to the 21st Century, on your channel. And next week, let's hopefully, if Tristram's up to it, also here on my channel, do that chat about the recent Brandon Sanderson news, in which he revealed that he
we're gonna
wrote
talk about that too.
5 secret novels over 2 years, and started a record-breaking Kickstarter that was at over $23 million the last time I checked. And then also talk about that novella Six of the Dusk, which is your favorite from Brandon Sanderson's Arcanum Unbounded fantasy collection in his Cosmere fantasy universe. So let's try to do that one next week. And if not, we can hopefully do the Norse mythology chat with Parker about that book by Neil Gaiman about Norse mythology.
Yeah, I'm excited about all of these future podcasts.
Yeah, me
that
too.
we're needing to do. But yeah, I can't wait to talk about all this stuff.
Yeah, me too, man. All right,
because I've been so into mythology that I've been reading Bullfinch's mythology.
I saw that you posted a bunch of books on mythology on your audiobook folder. I read like I think 1 or 2 of them that was in the last one that you sent. So I'm gonna read these ones too. That'll be exciting. And
I've really gotten into Greek mythology recently.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure.
Mainly because I've been playing a video game based off of it, and I wanted to know more about these characters.
Okay.
I was like, yeah, this Greek stuff. I didn't really know the intricacies of like the different tales, which are very similar to the Norse mythology tales. I would say the Norse mythology tales are much more entertaining, and that's probably just because Neil Gaiman's twist on them and his great ability to tell stories. But some of these other Greek mythology tales are pretty interesting.
Definitely, for sure. All right, yeah. So yeah, check out those future videos, everyone, on my channel, Mindgasms, and on Dusty's channel, Woke Centrist. And I also probably next week during the week, probably maybe Wednesday, I'm going to be talking with Ben Burgess again. I think we're going to discuss the fact that anarcho-capitalists and libertarians never mention the left-wing anti-capitalist historic origins of many anarchists and how they were disillusioned Marxists and socialists, a lot of them, who went to anarchism to fulfill left-wing goals. So it's ironic that there are anarcho-capitalists that are pro-capitalist and anti-government now, but anarcho-capitalists never mention that. So I'm going to talk with him about that. And yeah, like I always say, subscribe to the channel, click that like button, share the video everywhere, click the bell to be notified when I come out with new videos. Check out my Patreon page. Even $1 a month is greatly appreciated, and the link is in the description for the video, as always. And like I always say, I love you all. Keep being the tiny beam of light that shines through the almost impenetrable darkness in the universe. And most importantly, always remember this: the funk cures all. And Groove is in the heart. And Don't Look Up is an awesome movie. Watch it if you haven't seen it already. And the conflict in Ukraine and Russia is really fucked up. And hopefully war can be avoided. And the Decepticons are a very nuanced topic, and a lot of people are spreading misinformation, and a lot of people are ideological all over the place, all over the spectrum about their opinions about it. All right. Anything else you want to say before we end it, Dusty?
Just check us out next week of the wonderful topics that we're talking about on my channel. We're going to talk about a hunter's guide to the 21st century that I've had I guess I'd have a better opinion about it now that I wasn't triggered by some of the stuff that they said in the book. Kind of look at it more objectively this time. And
I'll try to make sure I listen to it again before then and see if my opinion of it changes as well. Although I was pretty triggered by some of that stuff the first time.
yeah, I kind of just like quarantined what they were saying about postmodernism as its own thing, and I tried to judge everything else on what they were saying. And I have some changed opinions about one of the stuff they were saying, and we'll talk about it when we discuss it because it might be surprising to what I say about something.
All right,
but
yeah, it'll be fun.
Another thing, make sure you ask Ben Burgess about his cat and why it's always interrupting his videos.
Yeah, for sure. I think it wasn't interrupting as much last time, but I don't remember. It definitely was the first time we talked.
Yeah. It's interesting, but
yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, men, and thanks again, everyone, for watching. And adios until next time.
All right, you take it easy.